Hello and welcome to another episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. This episode is sponsored by the rogue trader house of Pepsius Maximus, with deals so sweet you'd swear it was real sugar. As always, I am Spamiel, and to my right, the monstrously mal-strained manvid himself, Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well. Pepsius Maximus. The cola wars are real. It's happening, isn't it?
Honestly, House Pepsius Maximus,
Yep.
or House Maximus, my apologies, have really come in and thrown a lot of support to this show. And for that, Rogue Trader, sir, to yourself and your entire family, thank you. And there is only one cola beverage for the Underhive Lorekeepers.
Yeah, it's Coca-Cola. Cherry Coca-Cola. That's my gang. Cherry bombs. Yes. Because it's cherry Coke. That's a clever idea.
That cherry Coke joke really cherry bombed. Sorry, bud.
Actually, I find that quite funny.
Yeah.
That was well done. But a shout out to Chris and his Maximus, are they? I don't
House
even
Pepsius Maximus.
Yeah, I don't even put them on my radar, to be honest, because they're not in the real competition for any sort of cola beverage. But we may even have another house or another gang coming up. It's definitely more sort of a corridor gang. It's the LA Ice supported gangs. Just real rough and ready. Just like...
All right, new podcast idea. Let's just talk about different colas and their pros and cons,
and how they relate to Necromunda. Yeah.
and how they're but we're drinking that particular cola each episode. We're never actually drinking it. It's like when you taste fancy wine, you swish it in your mouth and spit it.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you don't, and then you just ruin the winery tour. Yeah.
You just and Samuel, you're embarrassing everyone again.
Yeah. Sorry,
but,
Mum. How have I been? I always skip that question.
Where we were going.
How have I been? I've been away for work again, so
Yes.
That's been a bit taxing, but just been trying to chip away at the old hobby machine at the minute. We're still way out from Necromunda, but I'm feeling the pressure a little bit because I have some big dreams. So I'm sort of thinking I really want to turn the screw a bit, but no, I've been well, just working, hobbying at the moment. It's been a bit of a different cycle because I'm away from home. So I'm back home for this particular episode, and the family love it that I'm spending many hours doing this rather than spending time with them.
Well, as long as they know where they sit on the sort of like ranking system of your love.
Well, we have a motto in this house, and that's, podcast before family, and family before everything
work.
else, I think. Of work, maybe not that high up. Maybe it's work before family, then Warhammer before family. Yeah, I'm sure they're in the top 15, so they're there somewhere.
It's really weird. We have a really similar saying in my household. It's, Samuel, you're annoying me. Go talk to your internet friends.
Friends, yeah.
Friend.
Right. Yeah. Well played. How have you been, my friend? My friend. Oh, so there we go.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Good. Busy. I've started so many projects, and I really shouldn't be, because I have the Necromunda gang, and I have my entry for every model is a Necromunda model.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yep. And yesterday I decided we're building a 4x4 terrain board.
Yes,
So,
I saw that.
Yep. You're helping me with that.
Yep, I am. Emotional and moral support are two very important factors that are often disregarded, but you're going to see how those work for you through this project.
Yep. I'm doing that, and I have been hobby bullied, or as I'm using it, hobbled into playing Kill Team by my new nemesis. What's the plural of nemesis? Nemesis.
Enemies.
by my enemies, Jason and Sean of the Once Upon a Kill Time podcast. So
You got him wrecked there, boys. He's a
Yeah.
bit nervous. He's just like,
Yeah.
what's it? What is my kill team?
Kill Team. So yeah. Those guys, they suck. No, I love them. But they talk about Kill Team with such like enthusiasm. I'm just like, I can play Kill Team.
I'm definitely on the bandwagon for that as well. Sorry to interject on your how you're doing moment.
No, please don't.
But since the new stuff with the Elysians and the not Elysians,
The not Elysians, as they're
the not
literally known.
Elysians, and the
Those Vespid.
Vespid. That's it. Yeah. Since seeing those,
We're splitting that box, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely want the Vespid. Yeah.
I'm genuine. This isn't even like I'm going to take your Vansar. And that's another project I need to do. I need to start my mouse strains. But
What do you mean start your strains?
I've like clipped one out of the sprue.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I know. You've done more than me.
Shock horror, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, wait a second. If we split this, what do you actually want? I'll let you choose. this
Vespids.
time.
I want those Vespids so bad.
They are actually brilliant looking miniatures.
That is a whole Vansar gang of Neotechs and a prime on a
Skyboard. Not a skyboard, that's a grave cutter. Always
yeah.
the Dark Elder skyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, righto. Yeah, no, obviously I want the guardsmen. I don't even know what they're Quilnos, I think they're called, or something along those lines.
Not
Elysians. They're not Elysians. They're not, because I always refer to the storm. I always call them stormtroopers. I'm just that old school. I'm just like, oh no, it doesn't matter what you bring them out as. If they're wearing a beret, if they've got overly ornate armor, doesn't matter. Still stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers. Yeah.
Stormtroopers. But they're not stormtroopers. They're something else. Tempestus.
Scions.
No, they're not Scions. They're Tempestus Aquilnicios.
Aquilians?
Aquilians?
I don't know.
Aquilians?
Yeah. But you
Either
want
way.
the guard, I want the Vespid.
Yeah.
Hell yes. Done. So
Absolutely.
yeah, Once Upon a Kill Team. If you don't listen to it, and then yell at them. Because
Yes.
they're unfocusing me. I'm a very focused individual. I'm not.
Well, how about we kill team after Armour?
Hell yes.
How's that for a little project for us? So we have to get this box, otherwise we miss out on hoarding
more hobby.
more plastic crack. So we get the box, but we shelve it and hold on to it until we are ready to start doing some kill team.
Done.
Cool. Fantastic.
Done.
We can get lost in lots of talk of kill team and so forth, but
Do you want it?
have we not made a promise to ourselves? Maybe
Good point.
we've
Yes.
made
Wait.
we've made an intro-based promise, haven't we?
Yes.
Yes. So, for those who don't know, our promise is to tighten up our intros a little bit because
They're
do.
They're getting like 30 minutes,
Yeah,
35
30
minutes, 38 minutes. One
So-
of them was like 50 minutes.
yeah. Before we talk about the kill team box and all the rest of it and what we want to do with that, before we talk about Necromunda, let's zero in focus. Cogitators to maximum. Focus lenses tightening in.
Okay. Let's
We're
jump
gonna-
straight into a spam your correction then.
Yeah, boom.
Focus. And I'm only really jumping straight into this one because it is, in fact, I don't know. Wait, no. It's for me. And this one comes to us from our mate Adeptus Aquinas. And on the Orlok episode, I actually pointed out that Stavros, the Dalmatian, eats a lot of garlic sauce. Turns out that would have killed him. Garlic is, in fact, incredibly toxic to dogs. So, trigger warning. Those sub pups probably in that farmland in the sky, if you know what I'm saying.
Let me help you out here. I'll give you a little bit of the old propaganda machine spinning. So what you're talking about is a modern day garlic sauce, yeah? So go down the shop. We're talking about 40k garlic sauce. What is in that, Spamuel?
It's mostly faith in the Emperor, Nathan.
Exactly, yeah, and corpstarch. So
And corpstarch, yeah.
lap it up, doggos, because everything is just some derivative of corpstarch, and we all know corpstarch beautiful for dogs. Gives them a nice shiny coat.
I take it back. It's not just faith in the Emperor. It's faith in Nath.
Boom! There
Thanks,
you go.
buddy.
Propaganda machine flying.
So, well, let's keep this bad boy going. I think we're at like 10 minutes for this intro so far.
Yes.
It's still much shorter than the previous. We're getting there, listeners.
This is going to set a personal best. What is our personal best, actually? Actually, no. I'm distracting. Yes, go.
What is our personal best? I
don't know. We should look it up and see what our shortest intro is. It is probably from like one of our earlier episodes.
Episode
where
1.
We will, probably where we're just like, hi, I'm this person, let's get to the episode. And now we're just like, listen, I have something to say about nothing, and I have good 20 minutes to talk about nothing.
Say about nothing. It's our Aranthian Succession episode all over again.
Yeah.
21 hours of just potato cannon caused mayhem.
Yeah, exactly. All right, no.
Mention our new Patreons.
Yes, our new Patreons. Who are we? We have Brad, Tom. No, that you're not hearing that incorrectly. I did not repeat the same name twice. We have 2 Toms. Yeah, just like this guy. You know, who's got a smile and 2 Toms? This guy.
Wait, hold on. Let me check. We actually have... We have 3 Toms altogether. Nice.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of Toms.
2 Tom thumbs, and one of them can be a Tom toe. No, that's...
We have 2 Toms and a Thomas. 2 Toms and a Thomas.
Oh, that's different then. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's a little bit more...
Change your name, Thomas.
No, don't. Don't. Have a difference. Anyway, back to the list. Tighten up the shit.
Tighten it.
Brad, Tom again, Eric, Bo, which, like, I assume you paint miniatures and surf at the same time. And my winning...
He definitely paints miniatures while surfing.
Yeah, 100%. And my name for the day is our final patron, Boss Muppet.
Yeah.
Much respect.
Yeah.
I really love that one. So for all of our new patrons, thank you very much for jumping on board. For all of our existing ones, thank you for your commitment to the show. Thank you for your support and your interactions with us. And yeah, let's push to that. What did we say? 100?
100. So we're now at 45 paid Patreons,
Yes.
which is almost halfway to butt tattoo.
Okay.
Or it doesn't have to be butt tattoo. It can be like anywhere tattoo, but I have a feeling the people will vote for butt.
I'm voting for face.
Face will not be an option. I fear my mother.
Oh, eyeball tattoo of the Underhive Lorekeepers. It's round. It would work. Would you get an eyeball tattoo?
And if you enjoy the show and you are interested in supporting our podcast and my apparent eyeball tattoo, please shoot over to patreon.com/the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. We are 100% funded by the goodwill of our audience, though we do this for the love of our hobby. Each month we have a Patreon exclusive episode, as well as competitions, polls on episodes, and other bonus content. If you are looking for another way to support us, get onto our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. A like and subscribe helps us grow and gets our particular brand of lore out into the world. All of our links will be in the show notes. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform.
So I will also say one thing about the Patreon as well, guys. We have our hobby diary running at the moment. I think we're at episode 4 or 3 or 4 right now. Now that is available for free to well, not for free, but if you join the Patreon, it's an unsubscribed episode. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. Everyone gets it. Just
jump on and have a listen.
Yeah.
It's just us talking about hobby, our pathway to the next tournament we're going to, which is Necromunda for 2024. So please jump on if you want more Lorekeepers content. There it is there for you. And please, if you want to, interact with us there as well, because I probably interact more on there than the other platforms. Spamuel does a lot more of that stuff, but I
because I don't do much at work.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
what do you do? You're an electrician, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys you mainly just go shopping for nice dresses and stuff, and then occasionally light something up.
And a matching set of pumps. So I know we're tightening the intro.
Tighten the ship, and I want to hear the story.
Tighten the ship. I had to use a broom the other day at work.
Oh, how
and
did it feel?
I genuinely looked at it and I was just like, this just feels unnatural. I did it. I did a bad job at it.
Yeah. As expected.
like-
Were you just asking like, we got like labour hire or something around here, mate? It's just
No. I have like this like a blower. I just got that instead. I just used that. I'm like, this is so much easier.
just blow the dirt somewhere else.
blow
I just
the
feel
dirt.
yeah. It's like officially my work area is clean. Well done. That's like it's almost a very Imperium approach to sorting out disease and viruses and all that. We just virus bombed this particular area, but it got to another planet. Yeah, but the planet that I destroyed is clean, so it's all good.
My planet's fine.
Yeah.
Harden up.
Righto. Speaking of destroyed planets, well, destroyed hives, really. That's what
Excellent segue.
I know. I've been working on that all week. I've been while away. I'm like, he's going to mention the leaf blower. I've got this.
Let's do it this way. Nath, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about episode 2, I guess, in our series on
Yes.
the Milk Strain, Secundus, Genestealer cult. So we kind of, that great big ball and mess. And this episode's all going to be about the actual hive itself, Secundus. So we, I guess we'll call it part 2 of our Genestealer cult series. Yeah.
Well, it's a weird one because
It
it's,
is
it's different parts of different things. Like, it's episode 2 of sort of Genestealer cults, absolutely. But it's also technically Hive Life part 4.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yes, this is.
So,
It's wearing many hats this episode at the moment. So I guess this will give us an opportunity to have a look at where the Mal strain exists and why it exists in this area and what exactly happened to Secundus, the second hive on Necromunda. What happened to, what should basically be the second greatest city on one of the greatest planets in the Imperium. Why has this become, one of the worst places to be anywhere near, whether it be right in the guts of it, in the Underhells, or, even in the exclusion zone. So we want to give a bit more depth and detail about that, which will probably, we'll talk about the virus bomb, well, not the virus bombing, the bombing of the city and so forth. But I think that'll give us the perfect pathway of information to get into Malstrain and then into the Malstrain, and then we can really sort of pull that apart and see all the gribbly bits that are attached to those Genestealers.
and to say Hive Secundus sucks on Necromunda is huge, because if you've listened to any of our episodes or seen the artwork or thought about just the word Necromunda, Necromunda sucks. We've really tried to drum this all into you in the last year and a bit. Necromunda is not the place you want to be. It's up there with Armageddon, the Catachan jungles in the middle of a field of greater barking toads. Where else sucks?
Probably Cadia, 3 seconds before the planet broke.
Right,
Would have
it's
not been great. Any of the
what
demon
else?
worlds. Actually,
Any of the demon worlds.
do you know what? Some of the demon worlds probably wouldn't be completely terrible, but
No, because every demon world would technically have an accountant.
oh yes, right.
Now, way back when the Iron Laws raised the first great hive cities, as the surface of Arrhenius Prime is consumed by vast, sprawling cities. Among these are the foundations for Hive Secundus, its crystalline towers reaching into the sky and casting their dazzling glow out into space. In their wisdom, the Iron Lords build the first data crystal vaults beneath these towers and begin the monumental task of codifying their civilization's greatest achievements. Before we look at anything, we need to look at this. This goes back almost 20,000 years from where we all sit right now, where I think it's M27, I think it was. Oh, so 14,000 years.
Yeah.
The Iron Lords created a place to store the culmination of all of their knowledge, where they're saying that this is the part I find interesting. This is within 2,000 or 3,000 years of the Van Saar leaving Terra. Remember we said we had that theory?
Yeah. So, Gary, I'll cut you off. I want you to hear. Yeah. I want to hear your thing. Yep, go on.
Necromunda or Arrhenius Prime was going to be a place of learning for the greatest minds of humanity that ever is, ever was, ever will be, to come together and to lead a society of intellectuals and people looking towards the future of a species. And Secundus was going to be the depository of all of their knowledge.
Yes, 100%. So this grounds what Secundus will become more so going forward, but it also is something that it still is in a way, but we'll touch on that a little bit later in the episode anyway. But creating this knowledge base, you've got to remember, it's not just about like their greatest achievements and so forth, and a record of it. This is potentially where they're keeping their own ideas of what STCs could be. This is where they're keeping their core technology of what their species understands. So how do we build this basic fundamental thing? How do we make it better? We keep all of this in the data crystals so we can just access that data all the time. There is a forward, exactly what you said, their future, the forward thinking and the mindset of the Arrhenians at this point is saying we are going to be here forever, and this sets the tone for Secundus in the sense that it becomes a place that is renowned for its knowledge, which is something different to what most of the other hives are.
Okay. So, just derailing this real quick, do you see Secundus as a place that has knowledge available for everyone? So, do you see Secundus as this Library of Alexandria type hive? Do you see it as a place where you, citizen Nathan, can go, I would like to learn molecular biology? So you wander onto the train, catch it over Hive Secundus, and you can access that information, maybe like mnemonic data spikes or whatever, where they can just upload that information into your brain. Do you see it as that sort of thing there, or is it still rather selective? Like, is Hive Secundus a university where they're accepting the brightest of the Arrhenius Prime, of the Arrhenius continuity? Are they accepting the brightest there to go and learn, to share knowledge, to expand upon knowledge, to invent, to create? Because I was seeing it as the second, but I'm also now seeing it as a mixture of the first as well.
So I think within the Arrhenius continuity, I would see it as something that they would use as a data pool or an information pool for their entire civilization to be able to tap into, right? But let's assume that they're getting the Van Saar to come from Earth and join them. Let's assume that they are putting the call out to all the great minds of humanity to come to Necromunda, or what was it, Arrhenius Prime, as it was known back in the day. And if you're doing that call out, if you're making that choice to get all those people to come to your planet, surely you're going to make this knowledge available because they see the greatness of humanity and they see that that needs to be expanded upon and not just isolate it to, a couple of million intellectuals. We need to sort of open the door. And you're not opening the floodgates. It's not the local library. You're not having some snotty-nosed little Aranæan sitting there getting his boogers all over a data crystal, right? It's for those who are in a capacity or a desire to want to learn, to be able to go there and do something about it. But I do believe there would be levels of information available. So, they're not going to show little Timmy Aranæan how to construct a starship, but they are certainly going to let him know that the stars go far beyond just their little continuity here. There is much more going out in the universe. Yeah. So they begin to give levels of information. I don't think we need to step away from what the mindset of what the Imperium would be, which the Imperium would be closely guarded. Nobody touches this information unless they have 13 different written approvals and then have to wait 3 generations before they can get it.
Sick. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I think
so
we're on the same page that way.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. But that's for the Aranæan Prime. Oh, sorry, for the Aranæus continuity. But for the Imperium, we say if the Imperium were building this, the Imperium would definitely be saying this is protected information and we pick who gets it.
The Imperium now, yes. I would see that humanity during the golden age of technology, during the Great Expansion, during the era of intellectualism and innovation, I see Hive Secunduses all across the galaxy.
Okay, yeah, that's before the Great Crusade, yes?
Before the Dark Age of technology, before
yeah. I could see that happening because humanity is isolated. We're not going to go too far down this carrot hole about what we think humanity was before the rise of the Emperor. But humanity would see itself as, endangered in the stars, effectively. And so how do we keep ourselves going ever onwards? We need to pull our information, as we do in the modern world. We say, we don't just throw the history books onto the fire because we need to learn from them. We don't just get rid of the manuals and the instructions and so forth. We need to learn from all this, so we keep it in a repository that we can get to. So all of these cultures, these human cultures, would do it. But I think once the Great Crusade kicks on, which leads beautifully into our next read, the history books are being thrown into the fire by that stage.
Yes, so, very much so.
There. Speaking of our next read, Space Marines of the Imperial Fist Legion descend upon Aranæus Prime and claim it in the name of the Imperium. Much of the world is ruined during the fighting, both during the subjugation and then later when the planet comes under savage Xenos attack. Fortunately for the citizens of Hive Secundus, their city is spared the worst of the conflict, and their precious data crystal vaults deemed worthy of preservation by their conquerors. So, again, our mysterious Xenos friends. This is okay, let me derail here.
Just quickly first, though.
Yes.
Boo.
Oh, boo. Yes, sorry. Wow, it's a bit slipping, isn't it?
Almost missed it.
Almost missed it. Yeah, no, thank you very much. This is why you are the glue that holds the podcast together. So, let me just have a little derail about this mysterious Xenos attack. So, they need to tell us who it is, first and foremost.
We know who it is.
But they need to rubber stamp it. They need to say, yes, angry undead robots. Done. So...
Okay, sorry. Yep, go.
Cross your fingers, remember your point. Yeah. And secondly to that as well is... why did it come under savage Xenos attack? We've had all of our speculations. I want it, boom, rubber stamped. This is what's happened. These are the ones who did it, and they did it because of this reason. Thank you very much. Now, you say your point, but I'll continue with my actual,
The reason they attacked the moment that the Imperial Fists, Boo, had subjugated the Aranæan continuity and had taken it back to Aranæus Prime, The reason they attacked right then is because they wanted to destroy Hive Secundus and the knowledge that the Iron Lords had stolen from the Necron tomb underneath Hive Primus.
Okay, so
I
then,
firmly believe there is a Necron tomb on Necromunda.
do you really?
And I firmly do. Or maybe not a tomb, maybe an outpost, something cut off from the rest of Necron civilization, because that is how the Iron Lords rapidly advance so quickly in technology in comparison to the rest of their sort of the segmentum solar.
Yeah,
And
okay, right.
which is why when they had those interplanetary warp gates in orbit of Necromunda, etc., when the Necrons who just happened to see that this is our opportunity, the Imperial Fist had taken down the majority of the defences. The Necrons weren't at a power level yet. Maybe their soldiers hadn't sort of reawakened, whatever. That's why they've attacked at that point, because they saw an opportunity, and unfortunately they knew that in a sustained battle, the Imperial Fist would have been able to get enough reinforcements to push them back or maybe even destroy them. So they've attacked Necromunda as much as possible, trying to destroy the planet, make it inhabitable for regular humans, and have decided to flee, thinking they'll be able to come back. They didn't realise humans, we're the disease of the galaxy. We're tenacious. Once we get our claws in you, we ain't letting go.
Yeah.
And that's why we're still there.
But so, if you're saying that, then they failed in their mission because they did not destroy Secundus.
From what we know, they didn't even scratch the crystalline towers themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where I struggle to agree with your theory here, because it makes sense, your theory, but like, would that not be like, okay, so you make it target number one, but then do you also do you try and protect it? Because maybe you can, even this, we'll call them Necrons, maybe even the Necrons could see that having this repository of knowledge is even a benefit to them. You know what I mean? So maybe make the planet uninhabitable, as you're saying, but make...
But they're saving
the
Secundus.
Yeah.
Which is possibly why it wasn't damaged.
Yeah, and then exactly what
That's
you're
really
saying.
good.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying about, they're going, well, nobody's going to live here. And the Imperium just goes, hold my drink, watch this. We're going to force billions to live here. Yeah. And they are going to...
Hundreds of billions.
Hundreds of billions, sorry, yeah.
And it is going to suck.
Yeah, and we're going to say that they love it, and they're going to love it because Big Papa E says, you got to love it. You got to print me some lasguns and just put a smile on your face. So... going by your theory, I think Secundus would have been protected. And it shows that this city is already at a point, this hive is already at a point where it is a valued resource to all. The Imperium sees it as a valuable resource as well. It says even the conquerors deemed it worthy of preservation.
Yes.
So the Xenos, I'm abiding by the idea that the Xenos want to protect it. They want to scour the world but protect the hive. The Imperium goes, we're keeping that because we need to understand how these people were so advanced, how amazing they were. So this knowledge, for all the technology, for all the weapons and all the rest of it that they could derive information from, all of that is secondary to the actual data crystals themselves. Yeah, okay. All right.
But that was one of the key purposes of the Great Crusade. Not only to do minor things like the spreading of the Imperium, the elimination and genocide of Xenos races, finding those lost sections of humanity. Those were secondary objectives. The key point was to achieve sort of a reunification with the technological advancements that had been lost over the last 10, 15,000 years, because they needed all of that, because once they had that, everything else would just occur. You can have, what is it? There was like 100 million or I don't know, like 50 million Space Marines. I don't know. There's like a million Space Marines.
I think so.
There's like a million Space Marines.
I'd be guessing if I was to quote a number for that.
A million Space Marines. That's pretty cool. And you have billions and billions of Imperial Army and Imperial Navy, whatever. With technology, like the Baneblade super heavy tank that we all know and love during the golden age of technology was a scout vehicle.
Yeah,
It wasn't frontline. It was a scout vehicle.
Yeah.
Titans weren't weapons of war.
Yeah.
They were primarily they were definitely weapons of war. They could mess up your day, but the main point of them was to terraform. It was to level entire forests so you had lumber. They would destroy mountains for ore requirements. This is all technology they lost during the Dark Age, during the Old Night.
Yeah, that's true.
When the galaxy broke apart. So seeing something like Hive Secundus, where when you're attacking it, you go hive to hive and they say, we are not soldiers. We are intellectuals. We are scholars. We are librarians. We surrender. We surrender.
Whoa.
We will do whatever you need. Do not destroy our knowledge. And the Imperial Fists, even though they are who they are, and I like them, I don't know why I'm so mean to them, they would immediately go, secure this hive.
Yeah,
Done.
I agree with you. So, yeah, look, you've sort of righted me a bit on my understanding of the Great Crusade there as well, because I have that noble idea that it's about reconnecting humanity. But you're right, it's not. It's about reconnecting the technology to humanity at this point. And so something like Secundus would just be treated as the most valuable gem in the crown, you know?
Yes, like the Adeptus, the Mechanicum. Mechanicum. Would be looking at that going, yep. 01101111101. Like, get me the holy oils. But even the military knowledge, the architectural knowledge, everyone benefits from Hive Secundus.
Yeah, very true. I will say, though, if they were to come out and say the place was full of librarians, they'd probably be in trouble. Because they're all psychers.
Magnus did nothing wrong.
Whoa.
But speaking of librarians, to protect the ancient knowledge of Secundus, a secret society arises within the Hive, the Keepers of Truth. Later, these men and women will become the Mercator Horologus, or Chrono Guild, and help raise Martek Halmea to the planet's throne. But for now, their task remains keeping the data crystal vaults and their precious knowledge from those within the Imperium who would plunder and abuse them. Now, the the Chrono Guild are a very interesting group of people. So they're one of those guilds that sort of has been introduced with the Hive Secundus book, with the Book of Desolation. They were mentioned previously, but it's really interesting. So they are keepers of knowledge, and their primary reason, they are the descendants of the first scribes, and their original job, not only maintaining the crystal vaults, etc., that we know, they were charged with recording and maintaining the collected histories, oaths, and contracts of Necromunda. So, imagine the power they hold. In my mind, the Chrono Guild hold a copy of the original contracts that the squat clans would have signed when they were brought to Necromunda after the Great Crusade.
There's something interesting I read about them in this. It's exactly what you're saying. So you're talking about the squats, and you're talking about the kind of information they hold, but it actually specifically says they were in a position where they remained aloof from the workings of Necromunda. So all the nonsense and, excuse the naughty word, all the bullshit that goes on Necromunda and noble families and gangs and all this crap that's going on, the Chrono Guild go, you go do that. Don't bring it to our doorstep.
Yep.
Don't bother us with this, because if we decide that you're bothering us and you've pushed our buttons too far, guess what? We're going to start delving into our secret black book of all the naughty no-nos you've done, and we're going to let those people who you don't want to know. And then your war is over. Our fight is finished, and you are done.
And exactly what you say there. So they remained sort of separate from all that. A position the clan and noble houses were forced to respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Only for fear of their rivals gaining access to it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't fear you. You're old men and women with glasses and little candles, and you're hunched over your books. We don't care about that, but you know for fact that my great-grandfather's next-door neighbour's dog walker was the actual heir to my family's throne, because my family was a bastard, and his father was actually they were married into the family secretly. You know that, but you kept it quiet for some reason. Because of that, I do your dirty work.
Yeah,
like they would be, in my mind, they are almost they're what the Dlark wish they were.
Boom. That's it. Yes, 100%. And there's a great line from the Secundus book, actually. I'll just get it here. With a single secret, they could dethrone a noble house or wipe away the wealth of a clan house. That just completely exemplifies what you're talking about. A single secret, exactly what the Delacroix want to be. One little straw of a secret that they can place onto a scale, and it tips the whole thing over.
But read that next part. Read that next part right next to what you've got there.
Yeah, okay. Such was the power of this knowledge that Lord Helmore had seconded an entire regiment of Palanite enforcers to the Chrono Guild for the protection of their precious crystal vaults.
And you have his personal enforcers.
Yeah. Oh. But so they're not. Hey, you're still my enforcers, and you just got to go protect these guys. They are seconded to the Chronos Guild.
Yep.
So they're fully yours. You know what I mean? They will come back to me when I order them back. But on the day-to-day of we need a door kicked in, we need a head stomped, we need just 5,000 people rounded up and killed because we want to prove a point. The Chronos Guild does all of that. They have a professional army, and we'll use that loosely with the enforcer professional. But they have a professional army that if they can run wild with. The only thing they need to do is answer back to Helmore when he goes, well, why are you doing something silly? You know what I mean? And then they go, okay, well, we'll back off on that so that we can keep our Palanite enforcers. So,
do you reckon they still people were still dumb enough to have late fines from not returning books on time?
It's just like, oh, sorry, it must have, my crystal dropped behind the couch.
I had it a day over. It's like, oh, we have to break your thumbs.
Yeah. The enforcers are just coming along. Specialised thumb breaker.
Oh, God, gang idea.
Yeah. The Palanite enforcer thumb breakers.
Were you a fan of the show Seinfeld?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. There was an episode where Jerry had a book that he'd loaned to George, and then this teacher wedged George and took the book. But there was a library cop for the New York City Public Library called Bookman. And Kramer was dating the librarian. It was ridiculous. But I'm just imagining, this Dick Tracy style librarian as your bad zone enforcer captain, and then these bad zone enforcers who were all all their bags are different books that they've seen. Like you said, they're seizing black market publishings.
Yes, yeah.
And,
Brilliant.
like,
Yeah.
like their Tauros Venator would have it would be a bookmobile.
Yeah. Oh, like, yeah. So the mobile library that they used to bring to
Yes,
schools and
yes.
stuff. That would be so brilliant. But they don't lend out any books. They're only
they
there just to
seize
recover.
books.
Yeah, they're only there to
s-
recover them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're seizing them because they have to rebuild the library of Secundus under Hive Primus.
And do you know what it would be like on Necromunda as well? It would be a case of like, little snotty nosed Timmy has taken the tome on I don't know, Gamma 6-2 quadrant. We need that back. But because of the way that these guys would go off and try to recover the book, and it would take ages, and then they'd have all these missions to go recover all these books, they'd probably get that notification again. So, like, after a period of time, it's just like, little Timmy still has this book, and they're like, well, I thought, let's just go double back. And they still go kick in the door of some poor unfortunate who's no longer the little Timmy's, but taken over the residence. And it's just like, give us the book. So a shakedown for nothing, and it would just be over a book.
Yeah, or it's like in the Orlok episode where the Orlok got married to I think she was the Cinderak or the Orland, and then hundreds of years later they got an invite to the wedding.
Yes, yeah.
But literally, like the guy who borrowed the book, it was back in like M38. He's dead, his grandkids are dead, his great-grandkids are dead, and they just kick this door in of this house, and they're like, where's the book?
Yeah,
It's like,
100%.
I'm Bookman. It's like,
Yeah,
what? What? just people getting the snot kicked out of them for a book.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. But they don't have no idea what it is. It's
Yeah.
now something that holds up, the table. It's part of like a selection of just things to keep it level. But
Okay,
I
yeah.
will tell you now, though, the leader of this enforcer gang would have a chain of like library cards that have been like
Yes,
crossed
revoked.
all these revoked library cards just hanging on a chain around his neck, just like
Your borrowing permissions have been revoked.
no card. Anyway,
No books for you.
yeah.
Also, in
was Seinfeld reference.
the bookmobile, there would be, and this is for our Australian listeners, there would be a long-necked grox that they would go into the like settlements and that, and it would teach the children not to do chems. For those who don't know, you'll never know. For those Australians, you know.
Yeah, we might unveil the secrets one day, but that's part of our routine here in Australia. We keep a special Secundus vault ourselves. Anyway, I'll go into our next read because we probably should push on a little bit. The line of Helmore recognises the efforts of the Chrono Guild and sets them the task of gathering genetic histories on the noble houses of Necromunda. In the centuries to come, this catalogue of sins will serve the Imperial House well as they manipulate the noble and clan houses to do their bidding. Classic Helmore shenanigans. But this is...
Exactly what we just talked about.
pretty much exactly what we're talking about. But it is... So this shows you how simple-minded the Helmores can be. They see it and they go, this is a tool. How's the best way to leverage this tool for our advantage? We will do nice, easy equation here. You get information, we use information, we make ourselves the best. Cool, done.
Yeah.
Leverage the whole time. I believe the Chrono Guild would be looking at it as just like they would have no problems gathering all that information. That's great. But they would sort of be playing a little bit more 4D chess here. So they'd also be gathering the information on the Helmores as well. They'd be understanding why they're gathering the information, how they're gathering the information. Everything that, as you say, House to Lark would just be killing themselves over to learn. Like, how do we maintain this level of secrecy and knowledge and, this manipulation that we can play over so many millions and so many thousands of nobles? In saying that, though, it would almost be the groundwork for why the House of Shadow would have been established, if you know what I mean. So,
Yes.
so going back to our Delark episode, for those who haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. But the term House of Shadow is not a Deliquescent term. It's not forehouse to luck. It's not. That's a word. Shut up. Go check the repositories in Secundus. Deliquescent's there. A house of shadow is, a term that has always been used. So you could almost apply that to the Chrono Guild in a way. Or maybe I'm just fishing for something here, but that's what I think.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that the Chrono Guild has gathered the information. I believe they've had the information there for the Imperial House. I believe that they are, as we've said, a bunch of nerds. They're not necessarily offensive.
Yeah.
I believe a clan house or a noble house will always be termed the House of Shadow.
Yep.
We know now it's the Delac.
Yep.
Previously, it was someone else. I forget.
Yep. All that information's cloaked in shadow, so how could
that's
you know?
exactly it. But then, and it would have been someone else before that, and someone else before that. The Helmors would have been getting the information from the Chrono Guild, handing it over to this, or handing over the necessary information to this House of Shadow, and saying, protect our interests. Protect our interests, and you get that last pistol contract. Protect our interest, and you get control of Hive Snolsderberg.
Great, the most famous of hives.
Snolsderberg. But yeah, like there would have been, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Don't scratch my back, I wipe out your family and replace you with someone else.
That's I've unfortunately had to make that deal several times, but yeah.
That's how you end up on this podcast.
Exactly. I was like, it's just a back scratch, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, a lot more threatening than that.
Yes, but that's the way I see this information. They would have been doing this the whole time, and Helmor, as always, as a family, they are just a big gang. We've been saying it for a year.
Yeah,
They have
naughty.
the most precise of tools, and they figure out the best way to smash you in the head with it. And the Chrono Guild has done what they do, which is gather information, which is keep records. And the House Helmor has looked at this, and they can turn around and say, Nathan, we understand that your family has been this, and your genes are this, and you're from this, but did you know that 11 generations ago, the Primarch of your household had just enough deviation in his genetic structure to be declared a mutant? You didn't, did you?
Yeah.
Well, that comes down to you. Do we need to test your bloodline, mate? Or maybe you're gonna scratch my back here? You understand what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Do we go to the administratum and say, we found a little anomaly here?
Exactly.
Perhaps the Inquisition needs to know about this, and perhaps they need to turn a screw here.
Yes.
Yeah, righto. So look, I mean, it's a bit sad, but that's the most effective and crude way for the information to be used. But at the end of the day, that's what the Helmors and that's what the rest of the noble houses are doing to each other. So they would find the most blunt way to use this information, which, as I said, is a bit sad. It's kind of like the Vansar. You want more for them, but unfortunately, they have to become products of their environment as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of blunt instruments, as the two-faced war divides Necromunda, Lady Cinderak Helmor threatens to destroy the data crystal vaults as Hive Secundus falls under the influence of her brother, Lord Gothrel. Though she is eventually victorious, the Chrono Guild never formally recognises her reign, and secretly begins hiding their knowledge from the line of Helmor. So, they've seen that they are only safe as long as they are satisfying the requirements of the, let's be honest, cuckoo pants leaders of the Imperial House. And Lady Cinderak is literally willing to destroy millennia of information. Information so important that the Imperium itself is protecting it from organisations like the Mechanicum. She's willing to destroy that information because they like her brother better.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's this danger that you have there of the Helmors. You know, this. It's probably a bit rude to just say it's just the Helmors. I think if it was Ranlow, if it was any of the other houses that were the Imperial house at the time, they would probably do the same as well. And
Yes,
they would say you're allying. So this blunt knowledge, this blunt application of a tool. So they go, you're siding with them, we're going to destroy you. But I don't think Lady Cinderac would have been able to pull it off anyway, because I think that would have put her offside with far too many houses who would have gone, we don't touch Secundus. You know what I mean? We don't dabble in that area. We don't threaten to destroy it because it is our history. It is our backup. It is our chance to have things become just slightly better. Yeah.
I disagree. I think a lot of them would have been willing for her to do it because then she wouldn't have access to the dirt on them anymore.
Yeah, look, do you know what? Actually, that's a fair point. I still think that the Chrono Guild would probably have enough sway to be able to. Oh, mate, maybe it is that, isn't it? Maybe if you
remember, you need to remember. She turned around and was like, "Well, no, I'm saying we're doing this. You all follow what I say, or I wipe you out." She killed millions. Like, we look at it, the Eye of Selene, no trade except through Primus, through Selene, and then Primus. That was a whim. What's to say this woman isn't going to turn around and go, I can't let my brother have access to this knowledge. And in pure Imperial fashion, if I can't have it, no one can.
But what I'm looking at from there is that if the top of the chain saying Secundus is now vulnerable, we're happy to attack it, all of those little rats would come out from underneath and start to go, yeah, let's attack it actually, because we know that they know X, Y, and Z information. So we don't want that coming out. And as much as we would like to have some dirty goss on some other house or some other clan house, we'd much prefer for our information to be destroyed, the dirt they have on us. So when you make them open season, I guess all the no-dwells would come out and be like, yep, let's take out the Chrono Guild. Yeah. Okay.
We've got a secret that we don't want the Imperial House to know. Hey, we're with you, Cinderac.
Yeah, totally.
Wipe it out. Wipe them out.
Yeah, no, you're with. It's so bad, isn't it? It's just like all this knowledge, all this information, and only just to protect maybe just a small snip, only just to wipe out a small bit of information. They wipe out the whole lot. Oh, it didn't happen, but it still breaks my heart that could have happened.
You can imagine there's some Ranlow noble out there is just like, hey, if this library gets destroyed, no one's going to know that my mother was a hamster and my father smelled of elderberries. Like, wipe them out. I got you back, Cindy. No, I didn't call you Cindy. Oh, good, and you've shot me.
Had it coming. Right. So I guess, look, I mean, that gives us a good taste of the ancient history of Secundus a little bit, I guess. We sort of start to move into the modern history and now where it starts to take a bit of a turn. The tech priest Hermiatus comes to Necromunda and begins his experiments in the depths of Hive Secundus. Entire levels are given over to the exobiologist and his work. The regions around his labs quickly gaining a reputation with Underhive locals and those gangs bold enough to claim territory in what becomes known as the Xenos bad zones.
Yeah, buddy.
Gang idea. Boom, boom, boom. Straight away. Xenos bad zones. This is, as I said, this is where we begin to have the story of Secundus come true, where we begin to see the notion of what's going to happen to it, and it all starts with naughty Hermiatus. But, I mean, in a way, it's naughty Inquisition as well, because they were the ones who sanctioned this.
They were trying to do a good thing, and as many people have reminded me recently, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, Tech Priest Tech Priest Biologus Hermiatus of the Adeptus Mechanicus was a gifted exobiologist, and I really want to say biologist, because it's a Tech Priest Biologus, and he's a biologist. But it should be. 40k words are fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And he's also a superb geneticist. He was sanctioned by the Ordos Xenos of the Inquisition to conduct secret research into the structure of the Genestealers. Now, his whole thing was if he could create a gene therapy that would allow humanity to resist Genestealer infection. Like, if he'd managed to do it, it would have been really good. It would have been such a great thing for the Imperium. It would have
100%.
been a vaccination against Genestealer cults.
Yep. Great. Fantastic. Go get your shots in the morning.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, you're like, no, I can't even hear the
sweet.
brood mine anymore. I just have an extra arm. That's all.
This arm's great. Check it. Look how buff I look.
Exactly.
But it's ridiculous because one of the reasons they selected Necromunda is, and I love this, it's because it's basically like, hey man, the planet sucks, and a bunch of aliens have tried to be here previously, and the Iron Lords and all that sort of stuff. And also, we have all of these amazing records of the genetic history for thousands of years. Like, we can track all of the mutations and deviations away from baseline humanity because the Mercator Palladus have kept such extensive records because every time they get a corpse, they test it to make sure it can be fed into the corpse starch machines. So they've got this sort of like graph of how genetically the planet of Necromunda has been going. So that, mixed with the records of the the Chrono Guild, Hermiatus basically says, I'm going to be able to create this gene therapy and effectively, over the next few generations, let it spread through Necromunda naturally. And then from that, we can move on to the sort of the further Imperium. Now, stop me any time because I could genuinely talk about Hermiatus and what he's done here for so long because it's actually a very noble thing that he was trying to do. But
I'll say, no. I don't think he had that mindset of he had the mindset, I'm going to protect humanity. 100%. Totally agree with that. Let's give them a way to be protected against the Genestealer infection. But I think it was a little bit more cowboy mentality of like, let's punch in some, Genestealer DNA or Genestealer strain, whatever, into these people and these people and these people. And we use this as a vast sort of, almost like a petri dish, using Secundus as that, with the knowledge that we will be able to control this. We will be able to stop it. And it's a classic Hollywood moment of, actually, things are not going the way that I see. And at this stage, he doesn't lose control because he ends up losing control because of he wants to have a little bit of a brain session with a a Genestealer, and that's when it goes. That's when it goes pear shaped. But I think what he would be doing is just testing on the population, and it's such a waste of a resource putting him in Secundus, because the threat was completely, I guess, misunderstood of how dangerous the Genestealers could be at this stage, where they're just
I disagree. No, I totally. This is in 871. When was the invasion by Behemoth? 780.
yeah.
So this is less than 100 years after that. They understand how dangerous it is.
No, 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 no. You're misunderstanding what the danger is. What I'm talking about is how dangerous they can be once they get out. You know what I mean? So they would have gone.
Okay.
We've got all of our controls in place. We've got enough. We've got enough bodies with guns. We've got enough. Servitors. We've got enough sentry turrets. We've got all of these things put in place. We should not have any fear of this getting loose. And then, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, it gets loose. And that's what they misunderstood, is how dangerous that could be to get loose. You know what I mean? Not can it get loose, but the potential for it to get loose. It was just a simple. It was just a simple moment in time where Hermiatus goes, "I'm not doing what my brief was, so I'm going to go to that next level of experimentation." That's where I see that the misunderstanding of the danger was, that they did not grasp how far this would push. And then once that's the toothpaste out of the tube. Once that happens, like, you're not getting it back in. Once the infection's out, you're gone. And I'm talking proper Genestealer infection, like what we talked about in the previous episode. Not just a little bit of purple juice in your drink, or surgically attaching a few ridges to someone's forehead or something like that. I'm talking about full-blown Genestealer, Genestealer kisses and all the rest of that on the blue light disco. Like, shocking stuff going on.
Well, what's the word I'm looking for? It's ironic what you said, where he basically went, "Hey, I want to sort of do the Vulcan mind meld with the Genestealer," because, for years and years he tried to create his anti-gene, and in his frustration he made a terrible mistake. Now, it says that he started to understand that the Genestealer plague wasn't just that genetic manipulation that we know it is.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the first outside of the Inquisition to sort of clue on to the fact that there was a psychic infection to it as well. And he figured that with someone of such powerful mind, such as himself, someone with determination, couldn't be affected by this. So he effectively says, "Listen, I've got one pure strain Genestealer left. What I'm going to do is build like this helmet. I'm going to slap it onto old Gerald P. Steeler's head, and I'm going to jam these probes into my brain, and we are going to think the same thoughts. I am going to use my superior intellect to understand exactly what this Genestealer is thinking, and I'm going to learn everything I need." And all of his assistants are standing there just going, "No, no, 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 no. Boss, we do not recommend you do this." So naturally, he's looked at them and said, "Shut up, apprentices, go sweep something," and has done it anyway.
Yeah.
And, in pure kumquat fashion, what's happened to him there is he has learned something from the experiment. He's joined minds with that Genestealer, that pure strain Genestealer, and has pretty calmly decided, this guy needs to be free. He needs to show me the dance of his people. So Hermiatus has freed the creature from its restraints. The pure strain has overpowered and infected each of his assistants, and finally turned to Hermiatus and given him a little bit of the, what is it, bing bang boom?
Bing bang boom. Yes, exactly. But
Giving him the dirty kiss.
I think the key thing there in that little bit of the read when you from the book is that he calmly does it. This is not just like a ravenous sort of, the Genestealer's got inside my head, I just want to see it free. This is just walk over, calmly releases it, watch it either slaughter or infect all of his apprentices. I think it's actually infects all of them, and then allows himself. But the key, another Games Workshop moment of mystery, it's like whatever he learnt from the Genestealer or whatever happened in their, mind meld, remains a mystery.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, we need to know. We need to know what it was. What happened that took him from key defender of humanity, from the Genestealer cult plague, to going, yeah, I'm on board. Whatever you guys are doing, you've Stockholmed me here. I'm with you guys. I want to be part of your cult. I'm very much on board. So, I think that is the most scary bit about it. It's. I don't think he's mind controlled at this stage. I don't think he's, under any sort of psychic manipulation. I think he's seen that perhaps whatever the Genestealer cult is offering, whatever this pure strain is offering, is better than his current circumstance and his current situation. And or maybe not better, but more aligned with what he believes is the right pathway for humanity.
Well,
which we
not
know
even
it's
that.
not.
Not even that. I think it's as simple as he's seen almost something beautiful within what the Genestealer is and what it represents. Because although he becomes inevitably infected by this Genestealer, he seems to retain a great deal of individuality. So we know he's sort of turned to the cult, creating the cult of the Second Son.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I still see him as a person, and sort of going from this, it seems to be that he was pretty cool with what he was doing. So
well, 100%. Like, and we're going to talk about it in the next episode, really, about what the Malstrain is and so forth. But he really messes with the Genestealers, like in in a really deep level, from a psychic level, from a biological point of level. And I think he gets so ingrained with it that he gets lost in his work, to the point where when his work is able to communicate with him and say, we can make this better for you, he's fully on board. And you got to think the impact that Genestealer would have had, given everything that we've mentioned about Secundus, a giant repository of knowledge, the capacity to destroy and make clan houses and noble houses and so forth. He is aware of all this and is happy to turn all of that over.
Because this is the point that he does what you're saying. He starts messing with things. He doesn't allow it to simply occur. This is the point where he starts merging his own body with the Xenos genetic material.
Yeah.
He is adjusting what he has become, and at the same time he is making adjustments to the Genestealers and its offspring. And this is why I believe he did so willingly, and not necessarily as someone controlled by the Genestealer. Because the first thing he does to hide his crimes, he neutralizes the agents of the Inquisition left to watch over and protect him. He kills them. Or he brings them into the cult. It doesn't specifically say. And as it sort of starts going, like, the Necromunda starts reacting with gangs and the enforcers, and they start coming. But the cult of the Second Son, the first version of it, like a tumour, the cult of the Second Son grows within the depths of Hive Secundus. Opportunities to cut out its Xenos evil are squandered or ignored, and by the time the attention of Lord Helmore falls upon the ancient city, it is far too late to do anything except burn the city from the face of Necromunda. Whether that is hypothetical or whether that is what they're actually looking at doing, we obviously by this point don't know. But we know what happens when Genestealer cults get involved in cities like this. And this is where I want to remind you of something you started to talk about last episode. What did we watch on Warhammer Plus?
Oh, right. That's right. What was it? A New Life. And it's basically, we see a family. It's basically a family being...
Spoiler warning. If you haven't watched it,
Oh, true.
skip
yes.
forward like 9 weeks.
9 weeks?
Yes, this is going to be a long read.
Yeah. No, just go forward about a minute. I'll wrap it up real quick. But basically, it is a family trying to escape a Tyranid invasion upon their planet, and they go through all manner of underground tunnels. They engage with planetary defense forces, with Astra Militarum. They even engage with some Tyranids. When I say engage, it's, they're certainly in the presence of them. It turns out in the end they're all Genestealer cult, including the emissaries who are on board as well. So I think there's this Arvis Lighter that gets away, and there's only one member on there who's not part of the cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're watching it, you're like, oh, they're just people running away. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it gets to the end and you're just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
But there are things that happen and you're looking back at them and, like, there's spray-painted symbols and propaganda, and you're seeing these soldiers that you thought were firing at Tyranids, but they were firing at PDF and Imperial Guard. And it's, by this point, like, once they get their claws in this, that Brood Brothers mentality we talked about last episode, that first generation, the Contagi, they become wholeheartedly part of the cult. They are just normal people.
Well, actually, it's interesting to see that, because at the end of that episode, we see something that is clearly I'm going to say a 3rd gen, or potentially even a 5th gen.
Oh, yeah, no, that's pure strain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's a 5th gen, then that means that the mother and the father, or the mother or the father, is a 4th gen.
I believe both of them were.
Right. Interesting. And they're not really holding positions of power, you would say, necessarily.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
They were just, by the looks of it, regular old workers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting to see 4th gens in what you would normally expect them to be, like, further up the ranks, manipulating this and doing so forth. But they're just part of it. Maybe they're part of, maybe the mother or the father was a key member of a manufactoria or something along those lines. But it's a great little bit of vision about understanding what humanity looks like on a planet, but more importantly, how engrossed and how ingrained a Genestealer cult infection would look like. And that's what I imagine the cult of the Second Son would look like on Secundus. It would be obvious and everywhere to those who know.
Correct.
So the classic of, if you know, you know. And those who don't know, and we had a lot of discussion about this in our previous episode, about me going, well, surely you would know. But if you didn't know, you would just simply go, oh yeah, we know them. They're pretty normal. They're pretty casual. We've seen them, 1,000 times before. But everybody else who would know that they're related in some way to the Genestealer cult would just be like, oh, that's our 4th gens, and we know them, and that we praise them and treat them so highly, and that's why they were on a shuttle out of here, because they are such valued members of the cult. They may look like nobody to everybody else, but they're important members of the cult itself. But that's less about the Genestealer cult themselves. They're in relation to Secundus. It is like a proper. It is, as it says, it's like a proper tumour. It gets in everywhere. I think at one stage they talk about, the brood mind or the brood lord having access to something like about 1 million followers within Secundus itself. And then, once Secundus gets shut down, access to even more and more people. There is this, the capacity of what the cult can do within Secundus becomes really dangerous. It also becomes quite incestuous as well, because their pool is not changing. But I'll talk about that a little bit later.
That's a little bit later on.
Yeah.
In the space of just a few years, like the Xenos cult, as it's now being known as the cult of the second son, which I love it because, and it says here, it calls itself in honour of its adopted home, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it infects every facet of Secundus. Clan houses, noble houses, Underhive, citizenry, factorium workers, everyone. They're all infected in some way. And the enforcers in other rival cults, so I can just imagine these chaos cults that have all of a sudden going, well, all of a sudden we don't have the recruitment pool that we used to have, because they're all joining up with this movement that's led by this Hermiatus type. It's weird. The enforcers would have been going, the enemy of my enemy, But at the same time, you're still an enemy. I'm still going to shoot you in the face. They're able to slow down the progress, but no matter what, the numbers just keep growing. And it's very interesting that that pure strain is now the patriarch, but it still mentions that Hermiatus is there as a very high-ranking figure within this cult still. It does not state that he is taken over by the patriarch.
Yeah, so what I love about this is he's still doing his job.
Yeah.
Of trying to understand how to spread we'll call it the virus at the moment, of how to spread this virus, but in a much more efficient way, in a much more deadlier way. Do you know? Yeah. And not deadlier in the sense that we want them to die, but deadlier in the sense that let's try and get as many people on board as possible. But it shows the failings of House Helmore again, that they allowed this to happen. We talk so much about how much it spread. This would have been known to House Helmore. And so it says here, even when reports of the danger growing in Secundus reached the ears of Lord Helmore, little action was taken. Lord Sire, more cautious than many of his predecessors, was loath to damage the great city or draw the attention of the Imperium to his world. So what I wanted to bring out of that, he doesn't want to touch the city.
Because he knows how important it is.
Exactly. This is the blessing that the Genestealer cult in this city has, is that they were very lucky in the sense that they could go, well, we're not going to be touched. And they wouldn't know that. But there would be a sense of, we'll be safe here because everybody else is not going to hit Secundus.
Correct.
We're no Hive Mortis.
Where we are is far too important for them to bomb.
Exactly. Oh, look, I kind of want to talk a bit more about the cult of the second son, but we'll get to
that
I know.
Later on.
There's some real juicy bits about Hermiatus that need to be delved into, but that's for another time.
Why don't you jump into our next read then?
Sure. Rumours persist of a deal struck between House Delark and the Chrono Guild. In exchange for information gathered by the House of Shadow, the Guilders allow the Delark to access their most ancient vaults, though the Pale Strangers never speak of what they seek or take anything with them when they leave. So they're just learning how to be proper House of Shadow from the actual House of Shadow, which is the Chrono Guild. So they're like, we're just coming here for, like, you know, it's a training day, really. You know, when corporate has those big training adventures, oh, we'll go off here. It's about team building, about trying to understand who we are and where we're going to go forward as a house and as a gang. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll do this. And the Chrono Guild is just like, we'll show you how it's done. But it is interesting still, even at this point, you know, the Hive is in dire straits in terms of the Genestealer curse or Genestealer cult, that you still end up having it still function, still going ahead. So we're not quite at the point where it's pull the trigger, it's all out war. So they're still sending delegations. The Chrono Guild's still in power in some way, shape or form at this stage. It'd be interesting to know, and you would surely suspect that many members of the Chrono Guild would have been affected by the Genestealer cult at this stage.
Yes, I believe, because the Chrono Guild is obviously based entirely within Hive Secundus, you would have a large number of them who have been, you know, bing bang boomed, or even just it's only been a few years, maybe interacting with groups or workers groups, etc., who are in fact cultists.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Maybe they're recruiting people who have been bing bang boomed previously. You know, you want to join the guild? Yeah, we need some new apprentices.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? You 5, you're diligent, you're focused on your work, all you want to do is learn. Absolutely, come on in.
Yeah, righto. So it's like almost like, you know, organised crime going, you 1,000 need to make yourself available for this recruitment drive. You know, so make sure that you get into the Chrono Guild so that we can learn the secrets. And I think it would be to learn the secrets of the Hive. Who cares necessarily about everything else that's going on in the greater world of Necromunda at the moment? Learn the secrets of this Hive so that we can dominate it, because they don't know the future. They don't know what's coming just yet. So the idea would be, you know, we take over Secundus. And I still believe that they would have the mindset of, we take over Secundus, but we still try to keep it a secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's such a big planet, and with so much resources available to it in terms of armaments and personnel, you can't just go, we're kicking off from Secundus and we're going to go take on Hive Primus. It wouldn't work. You know what I mean? You'd be crushed.
Yes and no. I think they would be keeping it a secret purely for the fact that they would want to spread their influence more via the medium of, you know, infection.
Yeah, definitely.
What was it? Sexually transmitted cult?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But once they got to a point, I think it would then them being more militant in gathering up the uninfected and forcing infection upon them, holding them in front of the Patriarch, one by one getting kissed, or doing the...
I just have the image of a Patriarch kissing booth.
Yeah. One credit.
Yeah. You're paying...
Just wearing this blonde wig.
Yeah.
Really badly done makeup.
Yeah. Exactly. Just like... Mwah.
It's like someone who has... It's like Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun.
Yeah,
But it's still set to whore. But at that point, they would be doing, I think, more offensive things where they're like, okay, we need 100... This goes back to your idea of the Guardsman Regiment. We need 100 of our instructors to go to this planet and teach these people. Or we want 100 members of the cult. All right, you know, you're going to get on the maglev and you're going to Trazior. You're going to go to Trazior and you're going to go to a settlement and you're going to establish yourselves and you're going to make babies.
Yeah.
And then another 100 are going to Rothgal, and another 100 are going to Arcos, and you're just spreading that way, and you're having these smaller subsidiary cults pop up everywhere. So that's your almost more militant method of spreading. But
but that's kind of what I'm implying, is that they would still be hiding their face a little bit, because
absolutely
they wouldn't want to show their might and their presence just as yet, because they would surely understand how dangerous the situation would be for them, that once the Imperium decides to drop the hammer or drop the virus bomb, then it's all over Red Rover. Do you know what I mean? So, but anyway, it's not really what we're talking about here, because we were talking about House Delacroix and the Chrono Guild. But so it still shows you that the Hive is still active, still kicking along, still doing everything like the day to day. We're not quite at the point where it's the war for Hive Secundus yet, you know.
Do you really believe that? Because
we're not quite. Yeah, go ahead.
Even though they're hiding themselves, I think this is the initial movements of the cult's army. Like, there are many different types of war, and I think this is almost they're playing that 4D chess. They're moving soldiers. They're moving funds. They're using the knowledge they have from those infected members of the Chrono Guild to say, hey, House Nathan, we know that you have a weird number of psychers in your bloodline. We don't want that information to get out. So we're actually thinking that you're going to marry your son to our daughter. And then obviously we'd be family. We couldn't tell anyone. And next thing you know, your son is now part of the cult. And you die. Your son takes over the house, and all of a sudden is completely throwing his power behind Secundus, his militias, his servants, his financial capability. These are all attacks.
Do you think that's what House Delacroix was doing?
I think the Delark were possibly trying to... Precognition, I think, is a great way to describe what the Delark ability would be. Yeah. I think they're looking at this going, well, we can see what's going on. It's, hold on, wait, sorry. I had a little bit of mayonnaise in my mouth. We can see what's going on. And we need to get this information before Secundus falls. So they go to the Chrono Guild and have said, we know what's going on. You know what's going on.
Oh.
Give us this information. Let us do this. We will attempt to help you in any way we can.
Yeah.
We will attempt to destroy your enemy how we can. And the Chrono Guild have just gone, done. Our most ancient vaults have all the information you need. Go there. They never speak of what they seek. They take nothing but the knowledge they require.
Yeah.
Maybe a USB.
Yeah, exactly. One or two, just a couple of funny cat videos as well. Yeah. But so, look, okay, maybe that's what House Delacroix is doing. I do agree with you. There is the underhanded war, and it's not sort of like the under the surface war sort of thing. But it even says Lord Sire does actually send like his enforcers in, and it says while battles were won and countless infected were destroyed in flame and blood, the cult had already taken root and was not to be destroyed so easily. What I was talking about initially was the war for Secundus, as in like rubber stamp it. This is the war. This is when we're sending in General Green to kick some noses in. But we're not quite there at this point. We're still talking about a functioning hive. You know what I mean?
We're about to be there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying for this bit here, we're still talking about a functioning hive,
absolutely,
which is almost completely infected by Genestealer cult. And didn't think we'd spend much time talking about this point, but it's kind of gone on its own tangent. So it shows you that a Genestealer cult in any civilization can still function very, very normally, right up until the tipping point. You know, where again, those who know that, hey, Hive Secundus is gone down that famous creek without a paddle, but for all intents and purposes from the outside world, it's still kicking along fine. It's still ticking all the boxes, still doing everything great. So, but anyway, as you say, take us into the next read.
Well, yeah, the Ornos Xenos gal in charge of this operation was High Inquisitor Aneth Vestrix. And she basically comes down to Necromunda and goes, what in the Sam hell is going on here?
Yes.
She takes her throne agent as well as enforcers into Secundus and tries to fix things. Now, even as agents of the Imperium attempt to find and destroy Hermiatus, the cult of the Second Son emerges from the shadow in their millions. The Hive City is plunged into chaos, and Imperial authority shattered in a single bloody cycle. Such is the scale of the infestation that Lord Sire Helmore, in his last act before being executed for his negligence, mobilizes the planetary militias of the Western Hives to converge upon Hive Secundus. Now, this was actually the second option. High Inquisitor Aneth Vestrix specifically reached out to the Adeptus Terra, saying that she wanted immediate orbital purification of the planet's western hemisphere to contain the threat. And
that's so key there.
Yeah.
Not. I don't want to just like do the Hive. I want to do the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah,
like
I want to I want to really go overboard, but not too overboard.
Yeah, exactly. Do you? Sorry, continue because the next bit's important. Yes,
yeah, but the High Lords of Terror got involved and basically were like, "Listen, babe, we totally get where you're coming from, but are you Cocoa Bananas?
Yeah.
Necromunda is far too important for you to kill the entire Western Hemisphere, and most probably the rest of the planet as well.
Exactly.
You cannot virus bomb it. You cannot, set fire to the atmosphere. No, don't do any of that.
No exterminatus here, thank you.
Yeah, no exterminatus on the Hermiatus, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. That was the catchphrase of the High Lords of Terror for quite a while. But do you think that the High Lords of Terror have said that not only to protect Necromunda, but to protect Secundus? There is still that naivety about...
100%.
Yeah, so that's when I read that as well. I was thinking the same thing, that there's this naivety that would exist when you're way over there on Terra going, well, hang on, we don't want to destroy Secundus. Even here on Earth, we understand the importance of this repository. So you're not going to do that silly, what did she want to do? Orbital purification. You're not virus bombing.
Silly gal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, have you ever watched Stargate? No. Have you ever heard of a planet by the name of Armageddon?
Pretty
great sounding place, I know.
Isn't that where the Celestial Lions recruit from?
Too soon. But after the First War for Armageddon, the Inquisition basically depopulated. They just got rid of massive numbers of people.
Yeah, we have spoken about this because they're absolute jerks, because Logan Grimnar was there and Logan Grimnar said, do not do this. This is not what you do to all these hard-working, fighting souls of the Imperium. And the Inquisition just went, no.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. We've got about 3,000 black ships in orbit and we're flicking a switch. So
yeah,
it's done.
But the High Lords of Terror could have just done that. They could have virus bombed the planet, killed all life, and then just repopulated. But they could not run the risk of something going wrong and something setting fire to all of that material that gets thrown into the atmosphere when you virus bomb.
Yeah.
They would have lost their libraries, and that's why I believe they've said no.
Yeah. So I think the importance of Necromunda as a planet of production is of the highest value, but I think Secundus would have very much been almost on the same level pegging, where they're like, is there a better way we can do this? Is there a way where we just kill off the residents, keep everything else?
Yeah, can you do a shut the doors and gas it type scenario? But not to the whole planet, you absolute psycho.
Yeah. So, and I guess the other big thing that we sort of haven't really mentioned is the fact that Lord Sire Helmore is, I think it's a public execution, isn't it?
Oh yeah, he gets very executed.
Yeah,
And like he's in charge of the whole planet, and they're just like, so yeah, you all serve this guy. He has the power of life and death over literally any of you, and I'm going to shoot him in the face now.
Yeah, I love this little bit from the book where it just shows you that, remember, Necromunda, for all of its spire suits, for all of its houses and its clans and its, Eye of Selene and all the rest of it, this is what it means.
Yep.
It was an indication of the Inquisitor's ire that Vetrix ordered Sire to be publicly executed for his crimes, a rare event, but a reminder that the House Helmore serves the pleasure of the Emperor.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, no matter what you do, if the Imperium decides that the heel of their boot needs to come down, it will come down. You know what I mean? So, Lord Sire Helmore, we can lose 1 million of them. We don't care. We will not lose one Secundus, though. That's why the High Lords pull back on doing that.
correct.
But anyway, now we get into the meat and potatoes. Cycles of bloody battle see the wastes around Hive Secundus transformed into a war zone. Repeated attempts by the Imperial armies to retake the Hive City are repulsed. Though the militia and enforcers' armies manage to contain the forces of the cult, and attempts by the Maelstrom Patriarch to escape are met with fierce resistance. Here we go. This is 40k Necromunda now. You know what I mean? This is actually being able to play out a battle that would look something like 40k, because I'm going to get into the bits that I love best about 40k, talking about regiments and divisions and all the rest of it. We have specifically mentioned the Trasur 12th and the Kronos 19th. And these are militia divisions, right? So these two are tasked. These two, they're not regiments, they're divisions, yeah? So probably, I don't know, tens of thousands of men in these two divisions are tasked with actually entering the hive proper and trying to take out whatever they can. So at this stage, there's probably still a sense that we can capture the hive with our divisions of troops here. But
It's classic Imperial offensive strategy. Drown them in bodies.
yeah. It does say, though, after the battered remnants of the 12th and 9th were driven back into the wastes, Lord Greem ordered his forces to open fire on the hive, destroying its ash gates and setting its lower levels alight. So, in a very small, capture of what actually happened in this battle, you then begin to see that they go, we can't fight an entire hive. Maybe we've sent, 200,000 men in to go fight this hive, but we're talking, a minimum of 1 million brood scum, or just Genestealer cult infected who are coming together. So whatever you're amassing is not working.
But what they end up doing is, so he sends 12 infantry divisions. So the division, like you said, being between 10 and 25,000. So conservatively, you're looking anywhere from 120 to 300,000 men.
Yep.
And they basically circle the hive and go, no one is allowed to escape. If they run at you, you shoot them, because they're either cowards and they're fleeing, or they're aliens and they're attacking you. So don't worry about it. And so they're sort of arguing. Do we try and protect the people? And the Inquisitor's like, no, surround them.
Yeah,
Surround
yeah.
them. Do not let anyone out. That's when the 12th and the 19th force their way through these refugees attempting to flee, and I'm assuming are just mercifully killing them. And they are then counterattacked by the brood scum, by the Genestealers, by the infected. And that's when they get driven back into the wastes, and Graham just goes, nope, okay, anywhere they can get out of, destroy it. Because he also has an armoured division.
Yeah, but he only has one.
Thartos 99th.
Yeah.
Like, one armoured division. You can just imagine me like, just fire everything at that gate, and then that gate, and then that gate. Like, don't destroy the walls. Destroy the doors.
Yeah.
If we can't use them, neither can they.
Yeah, exactly. So what I and exactly what you're saying here, what I love about this is they've decided at some point they're going to try and protect the population. And then not soon after, they're just like, whoa, we can't do this. This needs to be enclosure now. We pin them all in, we hammer it. But then it later on states that, there's Astra Militarum regiments rock up. There's Adeptus Arbites and
A battalion of the Adeptus Arbites.
Yeah, a battalion. This, what Graham initially does by pulling back his, well, let's see, he committed 12 of his 20 militia divisions, but by pulling back his divisions and his armoured division and holding back, he's now sort of getting the absolute sort of precursor for the dust wall. And the dust wall is the perimeter set up, for those who don't know, around Hive Secundus. Will eventually become this perimeter that gets set up around Hive Secundus. Look, I don't want to overstep any of our other reads too much, but I get excited about these bits of Necromunda. I'm like, we got a war. It's not just gang warfare. Like, we can, we're talking about
there's
tens
ranks.
of thousands. Yeah, exactly. There's tanks. There's this. There's that. So
there's mess tents. There's logistics. There's a bunch of rattlings setting up a black market.
Get out of it, pockets. Yeah. All right. If you want to get us that next read, then we'll talk a bit more about the actual war for Secundus. And I just want to sort of lead that in a bit, that it is an important time for Secundus, this war for Secundus. Everything that's happened beforehand is important to understand about Secundus. But what happens here during this period of time sets, I guess, the future, or sets the geographical future of Secundus as we know it. But take it away, Sam.
Yeah. So, just so you don't think this is a flash in the pan conflict, years of fighting devastate the Hive until its ruins become a perpetual battlefield between Xenos cultists and militia fighters. All efforts to delve into the Underhive and destroy the Malstrain Patriarch meet with failure. The Underhells, as they become known to Lord Helmor's soldiers, remaining an impenetrable maze of kill zones and Xenos nests. Now, a couple of important things we sort of have skipped over here is Hive Secundus has been cut off from everything.
Yes.
Reinforcement, sort of resupply. The tunnels to Secundus have been blocked and bombed. There is no food getting in. Refugees aren't getting out, but people who are from Secundus who may have been away from home can't get back. So something that Nathan mentioned earlier. So your genetic pool is starting to shrink. You are only really having this, let's be honest, incestuous ability to reproduce. And it's only been a few years. You're not just breeding soldiers. They're still children having to come out. And it keeps mentioning we're not talking about just cultists. We are mentioning the Malstrains, because although unfortunately, R.I.P. Hermiatus, he did actually flee Hive Secundus before the lockdown, and he ended up getting captured and killed by the Inquisition in the Beta Magellan sector, which I believe was a Space Hulk mission from old Space Hulk.
Was it
Someone
really?
please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I
let us
swear
know,
a
yeah.
listener actually sent it to me. It was like, yeah, Hermianus was in like a Space Hulk mission where you actually have to attack this guy. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
That's
But
cool, yeah.
yeah, so the Hive Secundus is this perpetual war zone where the avenues of yesterday are the trenches of tomorrow, where
Yeah.
you're fighting not only cultists and gangers and factory workers, but in my mind they're capturing groups of soldiers, and then they're getting bing bang boomed. They're
Yeah.
becoming new members of the cult. They are dealing with maybe shady logistics groups, and they're purchasing weapons, and there would still be
There would still be
groups.
people trying to get to Secundus. So
Yes.
at this stage of the process, we don't have a dust wall proper. You would have a ring, well, a loose ring set up by the planetary defense forces around Secundus, but you could still get in and out if you were really trying. If just a small group, so you could potentially see that there's black market dealers, there's gangs and groups trying to get in there who are maybe drawn to what the cult of the Second Son is. And they're saying, oh, we want to join that and so forth. And it's not much that their ranks are being boosted by, but it's just enough to keep them topped up in certain areas and so forth. But what you said before about them being cut off, it's really important because this cutoff is like their airspace is closed, cargo shipments are rerouted, trades diverted, everything. They are properly ending the communication of the Imperium with Secundus now. So where we mentioned before that, House Delark have got themselves a special little golden ticket to come and mess around in the crystal banks. All that's gone now. This is a proper war zone. This is, unless you are attached to the Necromundan army, you shouldn't be in that region.
But there are always people there. I mean,
yes.
you've got your nomads, you have
Yeah.
your traders, you have
Yeah.
your nomadic groups, not necessarily ash waste nomads, but regular people.
Yeah.
And what we need to remember is this part of the battle here, this is lasting for over a decade. The Hive itself is being just beaten to hell. Like I said, the avenues of yesterday are the trenches of tomorrow. And there are so many breakout attempts that are occurring en masse or even in smaller groups. There are infected groups breaking out of Secundus and making their way out into the wastes. Remember, they are joining refugee caravans and fleeing Secundus any way they can to get wherever they can to continue their mission. And it at the same time, the Malstrain Patriarch is getting bigger. And all of those hivers that were stuck in Secundus, that for the last 10, 12 years have been fighting the infection from within, are either being captured and infected or are being forced to turn, via psychic means. And the millions of hivers that still remain are bit by bit becoming soldiers for the cult of the Second Son.
Absolutely. And you are reinforcing that army because it's almost like the Malstrain Patriarch is saying, well, this is my lot. This is my realm now. And it even says it in the book. For the most part, however, Secundus was contained in terms of a mass infection getting out. But it became even more apparent that it could not be retaken. And I think that's a really important fact of what then happens to Secundus. So in desperation, Lord Helmore orders the destruction of Hive Secundus. Ancient and esoteric Dark Age technologies are taken from their vaults in the Eye of Selene and unleashed from orbit. The use of gravitation warheads turns the mass of the Hive against itself and topples the spire, while at the same time pulverizing the surrounding waste under a cataclysm of gravitic forces. The use of the Eye of Selene is bonkers. I'm just going to read a little bit more because it just gives you a scale of what exactly is going on here. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Eye of Selene was temporarily moved from its geostationary orbit above Hive Primus, bringing its hundreds of energy cannon batteries and missile tubes to bear against Hive Secundus. In a dazzling display of firepower, the space station rained death down upon the Hive. Energy beams the width of Habs carved away the few remaining connections between Secundus and the waste, while dozens of nucleonic warheads detonated above and around the great city. So now this is the birth of the Secundus we know. This is that moment where it is absolutely shattered. It is gone, and the use of those gravitic missiles or warheads or whatever the case might be, that is what sets Secundus on a path of something truly terrible, where it is manipulating the very reality of what's going on in that place.
I have a theory that I'm going to touch on later on about those gravitic weapons and what they've done and how their use has actually done more harm to Necromunda than helping it in any way, shape or form.
Okay.
Purely because of the way it has manipulated time. But, yeah.
This is a Van Sar thing, isn't it?
It is very similar. It is actually very similar.
Yeah.
So Cale Helmore was actually the son of Sire Helmore, that fella that got publicly shot in the face earlier. And is basically doing I don't want to end up like Dad.
Yeah. He's like, the Inquisitors are still floating around. I'm going to pull the trigger. So, Lord Green, thank you very much for your service. Brilliant. You have as many medals as you want. But I'm moving a space station to take out a city.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, I have my friends here from, and I believe it is, let me just read this clearly, the Imperial Fists, Boo.
Yeah, Boo.
I'm sorry, Citizen, did you just boo me? No, I was saying boo as in you are very scary.
Yeah.
Lord Astartes, sir.
Yeah.
But they start building and actually finish the construction of the dust wall. And that is actually 2,000 kilometers.
Hang on a second.
Walls.
I don't believe this. Is that information correct?
Yeah.
Are you telling me Imperial Fists, Boo, built a wall?
Oh, they built 2,000 kilometers of walls.
Not
and
the
for
Imperial
our
Fists.
American brothers and sisters, that is approximately 1,242.742 miles of walls. Or if I look at this, we go to... so that would be about 1 million fridges.
It's pretty close, actually. I was doing a bit of mental maths on that one, so you got there before me.
But when they build them, they basically just build this wall and say, anyone coming near the construction, you're just getting shot, don't come back.
Yeah.
They trap millions on the wrong side of this wall. Not just citizens, but their own soldiers who were literally still fighting the Mouse strain, still fighting the cult of the Second
Yep.
Son.
Yep.
They were stuck there, and
But they would have no idea as well. So
No.
this construction, you remember, it's happening like thousands, probably about 1,000. I actually don't know, but it's happening miles away from their combat zone. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
yeah. So they're probably still just fighting on. They wouldn't even get the notification of, actually, we're going to block you off here, so you need to start thinking about withdrawing. It'd just be keep fighting there, because the longer you fight in that position, the more time it buys for us to construct this wall without being impeded by any of the mouse train. You know, we just construct this area and then they're locked in. Oh well. If they come back to the wall, they die. If they stay out there, then they're doing the Emperor's work. You know, so there would be no negative attached to these soldiers being encircled. But as I mentioned earlier, Lord Grimm's forces being in that area have it's like the precursor for the dust wall, in the sense. It's not obviously the breadth and width of the dust wall, but it's what they are starting to do. And it's all those forces who would be trapped in there. We're talking 12 divisions. It's like, I mean, I know it's a decade, but
by then they've also got the Astra Militarum coming in.
Yeah,
they're
100%.
having a PDF from other planets coming in.
Yeah.
They're getting more divisions. They're getting
the
Eastern
Imperial
divisions as well.
Yeah, the Imperial Fists are fighting there as well, Boo. So, they're potentially, like, I mean, they're probably going to try and get them out of the combat zones, obviously, but they're also probably being blocked in small little areas. They're not just sitting there building the walls. They're having potential, a squad of Imperial Fists or whatever being left in those regions and saying, we will come and get you, but it's not going to be any time soon. So do the Emperor's work there and kill the enemy.
But on top of that, there are 2 other hives that they've locked in here. The hive cities of Nostrum and Polvaus, which are registered as dead hives, but what's to say they're not only classed as dead because they're inside that zone? As far as we know, they've been killed by the Genestealer cults or just harvested for bodies.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. They would just be stomped as like dead. You're inside the dust wall. You're dead. That's it. There is no existence of you anymore. So, without the visual aid of the map of Secundus, the dust wall around Secundus is freaking massive. Like you could live your entire life with inside the dust wall and not know a different life. Like there would be so much for you to travel, so many places for you to go. And a Necromundan life is not that long, but you could stay that whole region and never quite understand the absolute terror that you're in. Another thing that I was just going to harp back to one of our earlier episodes in regard to the Aranthian succession. Remember, they do attack the dust wall as well, the Genestealer cults.
Yeah.
Later on. So the effort and the push to do that must have been bonkers. The coordination needed to get out there to destroy or actually and to break through at certain points in the dust wall as well. It's at a whole nother level. But it did get me thinking about, fighting games of Necromunda, fighting battles of 40k in a Necromundan style. So remember when we had the Apocrypha Necromunda, where it was talking about the one-off skirmish battles using like 3,000 credits or 5,000 credits or something along those lines. Imagine doing that, but like it's one of, I don't know, what would we call the Trazior 12th? I think it was. So the Trazior
12th?
Yeah, taking the Trazior 12th and getting because they're a militia group, you could run a few gangs together to make up your militia. So you would go, say get together with a few people and you go, okay, you bring a squad, you bring a squad, you bring a squad, and this represents the 9th platoon of whatever company from whatever battalion attacking a mining facility that's being held by the cult of the Second Son. and we have to destroy that just to limit limit their access to raw materials. So you could actually play out these little battles in a historical sense. That would be cool, I think.
So, we could do this.
Yeah. What do you mean we could do?
Okay, so if you do like the Apocrypha Necromundus of the Gang Kings,
Yeah.
where if you started at 1,000 credits, and then almost like historical battle mode in Total War, where you're redoing one of those things. We could do like the attacking of the gates. So you have I don't know, you like a custom heavy vehicle, which is going to be your Lemon Russ.
Yep.
And then your 2,000 cred gang, which is going to be your 2 10-man squads.
Yep.
And then 1,000 creds worth of like champions, hangers on, that sort of thing, as your command squad.
Yep.
Versus the same number of points in just straight up Genestealer cults. I've got a Genestealer cult army here somewhere. And we could just do like
trust for them to be hidden somewhere.
Yeah,
just living up to their rep,
and do that, and then like take it up to like 5,000 credits and do like the actual fall of Secundus, rescuing a Chrono Guild member by a House to Lark gang and extracting them, or it talks about how they're constantly trying to get him to kill the Malstrain Patriarch, where you put a Patriarch in there, or like you do like one of those Tertius level Xenos abominations from the Book of Peril, I think it is.
Yeah.
And like 2,000 creds worth of gangers, and you're sending in like an Imperial Fist Boo scout team.
Yes.
Leading a gang. Oh, dude, that would be sick. Campaign idea.
This is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you get to reenact these battles from the war for Secundus. Do you know what I mean? Like, where is it that we get to do this kind of large scale conflict for Necromunda? You know what I mean? So you would have a command squad that is functioning and using all of these militia gangs together. And same would apply for the scouts, like, the scout squad. It doesn't even need to be a scout squad. It can just be an individual scout. And then what you would be able to do is use the rules for, what's his name? Vandot
the Fallen.
So an individual scout, last of his squad, left saying, I'm still sticking to my mission. I'm going to take these militia who are here with me, and we are still going to track down, a pure strain, or even the broodlord, if we can get there.
Here's a part of your campaign idea, because I really like this. If you could just go to a country, like I don't know, just give me a country that you'd like to go visit.
Germany.
Germany. All right. So, if I put a circle that is 2,000 kilometers in circumference, centered over Germany, it includes the countries of Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, France, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Croatia, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, the United Kingdom, most of Norway, a whole bunch of Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, I don't know if I've said Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, parts of Turkey, and Russia too, and also Finland. That's how big the dust wall covers.
Yes. All right. I did see you. I did see you working on something, and I couldn't work out what it was. Yeah. Okay.
The entirety of the United States, from the West Coast all the way over to like the city of Washington. New York is fine. Then when it comes to Canada, Canada. I'm sorry, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, most of Alberta, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Ontario, parts of Quebec, all of that sort of stuff. You are inside that. So the concept of this campaign of yours, the sheer scale you're able to work on,
Well, that's what I was
is
saying as well.
insane.
You could live inside the dust wall and never know anything of the outside world.
No.
Yeah.
There is no outside world.
I would love to. I would love to be able to do historical battles from the War of Secundus. It would just be. It would be so much fun, and it would be related to the gangs because remember the key point about Grimes divisions is their militia. That's what I would love to do: is fight out a war, like fight out the historical battles for the War of Secundus. Like, and as I was saying, the key thing is that the divisions that Jurgen Grimm, General Lord Jurgen Grimm is using, they are militia. So putting gangs in all of those, like you don't need to go off and get an Astra Militarum army to do this. All you need to have is gangs. You know what I mean? So you know, if you got a couple of mates, you go, okay, we're gonna reenact the battle of Pumping Station 397. Where that needed to be destroyed because it cut off a water supply to one section of Hive Secundus. So the whole objective is to get to the pumping station, plant some demo charges on it or some melter bombs on it, and watch it go kaputski. So you have a certain amount of specialists in your 3,000 creds or whatever that are equipped with this kind of equipment and send them in. I reckon this would be so much fun to do. Like just... And you don't, there's no attachment. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to have this attachment of like, oh, but what's this gang going to do in its next mission and stuff like that. You can play it out with all the tasty rules of Necromunda, but in a 40k style fight.
And you could go super dumb with it as well. Be like, all right, so my 10-man squad, they're going to be the remainders of 3 different squads, which is why I have my 2 heavy weapons troopers. So my missile launcher and his loader, who's basically, I'm going to model him up carrying the extra missiles and that. But I'm going to give him demo charges because in a pinch, he knows he can throw one of those things. And, but then, you're also going to have, because you'd be running them as whatever gang you pick. So I'm going to have my arms master because I'm running this as an Orlock gang, and he's going to have that power hammer because he specifically got knocked down in a fight against this cultist and, ended up stabbing this thing to death and was like, my gun's wrecked, I'm going to grab this big hammer this cultist had, which is why you're doing that. You'd really blow out with those credits, like the huge credit allowance you've got.
You have fun with it.
You could have so much fun. Oh, dude, we have to do... Basically, it gives me an excuse to buy and build another Lemon Russ. Because...
But the way I would see it, right, is that these tanks in this zone, he has only one armoured division. So this armoured division would be being supplied.
You can only have one.
So, you'd only have one Russ, but they would be patching it up as well, these vehicles. Because the tithe would not care for your war in Secundus.
Oh, no, you're still paying.
Yeah, you'll see. We need 10,000 Lehman Russes for our next campaign into whatever region, So we need... You can't take 5 of those Lehman Russes and send them over to Secundus. It's not going to happen. All 10,000 go to the next Mordian regiment that's being raised. So see you later. So they get their vehicles and you could Necromunda them up so much. Like I haven't put together a Lehman Russ kit in a very long time, but back in the day, the side panel would come off and you could link all the tracks around and it would have like the exposed, track wheels and all that kind of stuff. That's what you'd be doing, like ad hoc armor plates, maybe an open top turret where you can actually see the firing mechanism of the battle cannon and so forth. So all of those things would be brilliant opportunities for you to mess with. And I will alight to the fact that we haven't had very many gang ideas for this episode at the moment, but this is where it all starts to happen for Secundus. This is when we are looking at Secundus as we know it today. This is where the gang ideas really start to bleed out into it. The survivors within the dust wall, the settlements that were set up, how they survived, how they lived, how they currently are living, what's going on with them. Those groups of soldiers who would have retreated back to the dust wall and said, okay, well, we're out of ammunition. We've lost all Vox contact. What do we do? They get back to the dust wall. They start getting gunned down. Like, well, we can't go that way. And we've got the Malstrain on the other side. What do we do? We now become independent. We've now become separated. And that's the same for the refugees fleeing as well. And it even states that, like, the remnants of Secundus, or the descendants, not the remnants, it's a bit rude of, they eke out an existence moving constantly from one sanctuary to another, often in armoured tracked settlements. So this is
We've talked about that previously.
We have, yeah. This is like vindication of our idea. Well, they definitely listen to our podcast. They definitely do. So, this is, that's a whole nother gang idea right there about these armoured track settlements that are going along. And, you would see them as not as quick-moving things, but things that would be so insurmountable for the cult to handle. They'd just be like, well, we don't fight that because the waste of resources, because they're not necessarily topping up their population with, more and more Gen 1s. They're having to rely on whatever their breeding pool is. Again, we will touch on the issues with their breeding pool in another episode, not just right now. But so, yeah, there's so much that happens now that you can explore and expand with and just take to another level within Secundus. But I guess we took that one little read and have just gone completely bonkers with it. So I guess we'll jump into...
And now have a campaign.
Yeah, and now have a campaign. Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll go into our next read.
Oh, yeah? Yes. So, a generation after the destruction of the Hive City, the hybrid armies of the Patriarch emerge from the Secundan Abyss and launch a major assault against the Dust Wall. For months, the Xenos hybrids probe the defences in battles that cost both sides thousands of lives, until as swiftly as they appeared, they vanish once more into their ruined prison. Now, this is a classic example of Games Workshop telling us something we've already heard, because there was another read that actually came from one of our much earlier episodes, which was this read here. The broodspire of Secundus unleashes its hordes upon the ash wastes. Hybrids and pure strains assault the dust wall, along with legions of industrial war machines. Do you remember this? I think it's a brief 10,000 year history part 2.
Yep.
Against the onslaught, the Necromundan militia and Imperial fists hold strong against, turning the grey plains red with blood and flame. After days of vicious fighting and thousands killed on both sides, the attack ends. The cult army retreats back into the hive, leaving the Imperial forces to wonder if they are victorious, or if this was merely a means of testing their defences. So we've been told both sort of like two separate sections of that same tale there, but it really just goes in to... I think this is a mixture of the Patriarch attempting to break out of its prison, but also trying to find weak points to start focusing its assaults other places.
So, look, I do think it's probably probing, but it actually reminds me of something from the Aranthian succession, actually. I think it was in the ruins of Yardland. Let me just have a quick little look-see. Beep up on the cogitator. Right, here it is. So, cracks in the dust wall. This is like part of the timeline as well. The dust wall, long a bastion against the horrors of the Hive Secundus, begins to fail. Hordes of Malstrains batter the defences surrounding the fallen hive, while Ashwaste nomads attack the enforcer positions holding the edges of the Secundan quarantine zone. In the confusion, many servants of the Broodspire escape into the greater wastes of Necromunda. So, I think yes, definitely they were probing it, maybe for this moment.
Yeah.
Seeing that time where the world is in upheaval. Not to say that they knew that the Uranthian succession was going to happen, or that Somnus was going to do a little flyby, but more so that when our time comes, we need to be ready to go. And that's what's happened in this particular scenario, and that's what they've done in their first attack, is to have a little look-see. Just see what's going on, where's a weak point, where do we amass our forces.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think definitely the entities within Hive Secundus are now fixated purely on getting through the dust wall, because it does state that they collapse the tunnels. There's pretty much a no-fly zone around Secundus as well.
Yeah.
It is, for all intents and purposes, properly cut off in every which way except for overland and via the dust wall. But in saying that, I think it needs to be understood that the brood horrors and the I guess the servants of the Malstrain are not the only thing still kicking within Hive Secundus.
No, we know for fact that there are settlements, there are strongholds, there are a particularly badass breed of enforcers called the Siberian enforcers. And I love it, the ideas of Cerberus, the hellhound guarding the gates to the underworld. But these, yeah, just derailing us real quick. The Siberian enforcers. If the Dust Wall enforcers are a breed apart from those that patrol the hives, then the Siberian enforcers are a step further. It falls to some of the Siberian to form expeditions and enter the exclusion zone. In addition to scouting the strength of the Malstrain, these groups chase down outlaws whose crimes cannot be left to the Xenos to punish. Now, these badasses go in there hunting down criminals, and at the same time, they set up new outposts beyond the dust wall, inside the exclusion zone, from which to sort of enforce Helmor's law upon the sort of the renegades and those poor bastards that have been stuck behind the wall. But yeah, we know there are settlements. We know there are all of these people living there. And one thing I love is, we've mentioned it already a little bit with the giant tract like settlements that travel around. But when the wall went up and a lot of these people were stuck there, what they ended up doing is going to the military encampments and the former PDF and Militarum structures were there, and there are these enormous cranes for shipping material and that sort of thing, and they've built they're effectively like the flat tanks, but with huge cranes on them.
Yeah,
and
right.
they've turned
Okay.
them into their own travelling settlements.
Yeah.
And what a lot of them have done is they've moved their new settlements to the edge of the abyss that Hive Secundus sits within, and have set themselves up as these separate ports, and using these cranes lower not only their own people but explorers and other gangs
right.
down into the abyss, which is how they get in and out. And it actually during in the ruins of Yardlin, we read about it that a bunch of Maelstrands were trying to claw their way out of the abyss, and the defenders of Port Aegis rigged the settlement's massive twin cranes with explosives. And remember, the bombs failed to detonate, and this random bloke just runs up, hits the bombs, and just sends them falling back down into the abyss. But
Oh, wow. Do you know that, like, it's hard to visualize it until you have, like, the reference points that they give you in Hive Secundus. You're like, oh, I get it now. I get it. Yes.
But
That's
they're
cool.
these huge cranes that they've driven across.
Yeah.
So they've gone to the military bunkers, and they've these huge hive cranes used for building hives. They've built trucks under them. They've built tanks under them, and are like, we're crane folk now, and like it's amazing because you can just imagine these monolithic vehicles driving like this almost they remind me once again that idea we had earlier of those, what do we call them, like Necromundan Romani travelers, where they had their caravans and their different families and these different groups who have formed these amazing crews and individual groups and tribes within the Secundan Exclusion Zone have all gone to the abyss and have decided this is a way we can survive. We can scavenge that. We can also assist others in scavenging and creating, and it's what you do on Necromunda. You create yourself a niche. You find a way for you to make an income for what you were good at. And for these people, it just happens to be sending others down into the abyss to fight the Maelstrands, to scavenge information and technology and weaponry and whatever you need. And it's so cool.
Yeah, these are the ferrymen, I believe.
These are where the abyssal ferrymen come from.
Yeah.
And we'll probably touch on them in the next episode, sort of where we're really just sort of talking about the setting. I find them, some of the characters, some of the abyssal ferrymen are very, very cool.
Yeah.
There are some absolutely insane ones, including an Ogren that got left and literally just has is like one of the scariest dudes I think I've ever read about from the Necromunda perspective.
Run.
But these enclaves of ferrymen who live either on these crane cities or sort of flow between them. Their entire job is to lead people from outside into the abyss.
Yeah, exactly. But this shows you that the dust wall is not the impenetrable fortress that it is probably made out to be across Necromunda. Do you know what I mean? And it's a given thing that you're going to have this huge, gigantic wall. You're still going to have holes in it. You're still going to have corruptible guards and so forth. So they're able to get out, they're able to get in, which implies that potentially things can get out as well. And this sort of imparts the idea that the Maelstrain of the Genestealer cult is what could potentially infect other hives on Necromunda. So this is the legacy of Secundus. You know, this is what we're left with currently when we look at it. That we have a new job, which is fantastic. We have ferrymen. You know, it's creating employment opportunities, but it's also
billions have died, but we've opened up some jobs. I can see the.
You know, it makes sense. Hey, everybody gets an opportunity to serve on the dust wall as well. That's creating more jobs.
What was it called? It was Reaganomics. This is Helmonomics.
Helmonomics,
You know, it's trickle down employment.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, there's a very high chance you'll die. You have to live inside the dust wall, so you'll never be allowed out again.
But you'll die employed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw the return of the the spire hunters. So Spira Hunters, whichever way you want to pronounce it. So there's all these positive things coming from the establishment of Secundus as a god-awful hellhole, and the Underhells becoming a treasure trove of opportunity, we'll call it, for those willing to look hard enough. There is actually another thing that we can derive from the modern status of Secundus. It's still a hive city, yes?
That's correct.
So Lord Helmore, or potentially now Lord Aranthus, can still entitle somebody to become
Oh, you're talking about the Lord of Secundus.
the Lord of Secundus. And it actually says the title of Lord Secundus is one that has become something of a curse within the spire of Hive Primus, handed out by Lord Helmore as a mark of ill favour. So it's something that they go, you're the boss of this. What I do love, though, is when Lady Gestra Histrium Catalyst of the House of Catalyst was given the title of Lord Secundus. She recruits an army of Vansar tech hunters, and
She's got fantastic taste.
yeah, great. What she does with them is even better. She then takes them in to Secundus. Right, well, that's the plan. Her idea is to be raised up to the spire of Hive Secundus. And this shows like how important Secundus was for Necromunda, because she has no knowledge that the spire has already fallen. It's lying on
They
the
nuked
planets
it.
of... Yeah, they nuked it. The spire literally collapsed. So she's going, well, raise me up on the spire, my lovely little tech hunters. And unfortunately, she doesn't even make it. But she does leave another element of a tasty treat for people to go track down within Secundus, is that all of her riches and all of her credits and all of everything that she brought to re-establish the rule of Secundus is left somewhere out in the exclusion zone. And so people try to get past the dust wall to go find that. Just another little bit of bait for the brood mind to use in their favour. Come get a taste, we'll have a bite. Or a kiss.
That's a little more a Bing Bang Boom.
A big bang. Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't remember if it was Bing Bang Boom. It just Bing Bang Boom seems to work.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. I love it. I think it is such a great setting. Oh, I really want to talk about the gangs. We can't talk about the gangs.
No, look, I mean, it's something I mentioned earlier. We haven't been very, like, gang idea heavy from this one because we know it's going to come in the next episode. There's lots to build on here, you know. This is our foundation block.
But we have a pretty badass campaign idea.
We do, yes.
And now I want to give you one of my conspiracy theories.
Go ahead.
So, do you notice that they haven't mentioned caryatids at all through the breakdown of this here? Now, I'm kidding.
You're
I'm
right.
Kidding.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's been a great episode. I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when we mentioned the gravitic weapons earlier?
Yep.
And obviously,
Yeah, I was wanting to know
with
what your...
dense gravity environments like black holes and that, it mentions it quite a few times that around specifically the Secundan Abyss, time is affected. So Lady Hera, for example, several times on her journey to Hive Secundus, can see herself not only ahead of herself but behind herself.
Yeah.
There are weird time jumps, and it's another thing that affects people when they come into the exclusion zone and they get closer to Hive Secundus. Now, we know that there were millions of members of the cult during the war, and at the end of the war, when they've collapsed it and built the wall, and there were millions trapped behind the walls. Millions and millions is multiple millions. That's cool. But I believe that those gravitic weapons, when they've affected everything, have created almost time dilation around Hive Secundus. So the time occurring within Hive Secundus is actually longer than what's happening outside of Secundus.
Okay.
So it's only been 30 years, I think. I believe it's 30 years since the fall of Hive Secundus to now. the fall of Hive Secundus was 890 M41. For example, the war on the Dust Wall was 921 M41. 31 years.
Yep.
I believe 31 years has occurred on the outside. I believe a lot more, possibly even hundreds, if not 1,000 years or more, has occurred within Hive Secundus, which is one of the reasons I believe we have such deviation between the regular Genestealer cultists and the Malstrains.
Right.
I think that what's going on there, that mixed with the radiation, is causing these differences. And one of the things that happens being the
I'm loving this, by the way. I'm on board.
yeah,
I'm on
one
board.
of the
It would
things-
explain a lot.
Yeah, and which is why things seem to be, for lack of a better term, so strange. Like, there are all of these different things occurring that it says multiple places time doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
Where these strange things happen.
Yeah, they even say that, like,
Everything
you know,
bends. You know what I mean?
yeah, and you go into that region, into the region, so inside the dust wall, and as you get close to that epicenter where the storms are and so forth, you can hear, vox chatter from, decades past, or sometimes you're hearing your own desperate calls for help from the future. You know what I mean? So that it's just scary stuff that's happening. It's like this time warp area where it's corrupting everything around it. Do you know what? Mate, I'm on board with your idea for this. It really makes sense as to why the Genestealers look the way that they do. Why it's so messed up. Because, like, let's be honest, 30 years is not an incredible amount of time for things to go completely bonkers. But if you're talking 100 years, mate, we're starting to talk some craziness.
100, 200,
Exactly.
500.
1,000 years?
1,000 years. That mixed with the ongoing, and we've sort of said, Hermiatus himself died, but other things have happened, and we'll talk about those in the next episode. But it genuinely would not surprise me if we learned that these temporal anomalies, these gravitic anomalies, and all these things that are occurring, it would not surprise me to find out that they are the things being caused by those gravitic weapons that they rained down on Secundus. And I think it's done some good. I think it's done a lot more bad.
Yep.
But we'll talk about the differences between the regular Genestealers and the Malstrains, and possibly what's happening there.
Yeah, definitely.
Next episode, and I have a feeling that's partially due to the time dilation.
Oh, mate, you've sold me completely. Because when you do look at those new miniatures, you think to yourself, all right, yeah, you've had a few issues growing up as a pure strain Genestealer, but surely not that much, But if what you're saying has any sort of truth to it, this is not the first generation of that Genestealer, or even the third. This is many, many generations later, completely and totally afflicted by its surroundings. Oh,
Yeah, that's another thing we would have to talk about, because the Malstrains are different.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that, though.
They are different. But I tell you what, how are we going to end this but with a gang idea? And I don't want to do this just for Secundus, all right? I want you to give me an idea. Maybe this can be a little bit of influence on our competition, which already we've received some fantastic entries for.
Yeah,
But
we have. They've been great.
there was also one coming from our mate Harry Bob. It did mention Ogrins. I don't think you've read it yet. But
I have not read that one. No.
He didn't cause me feelings. He caused me laughs, not feelings. No. Give me a gang idea for Secundus or the Secundan Exclusion Zone.
Do you know what I'm actually thinking? It's almost like a time traveling gang. You know what I mean?
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, it just got me thinking about this whole, the times all like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey within that region. That's a Doctor Who reference, by the way. And
have you ever watched Star? No.
So I'm just literally, this is like fresh off the presses coming out of my brain, but almost a gang that understands the time dilation.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? And is no longer fearful of it, but begin to try and manipulate it for their own purposes, for their own gain. So they're still all about capturing loot and gathering resources, but they understand that they almost live longer here. Oh, here we go. So you could have they would all be old. Do you know what I mean? So they would all look weathered and battered. Do you remember the deserter miniature from...
Yes.
Yep. So that kind of vibe about them. So this gang is more about the aesthetic and the look of them. Battered bits of old armour, maybe a little bit of Necromundan ninth war gear put on them, some ancient looking weapons. You know what? Even like a flintlock musket from a ratskin juve. They don't actually use it, but it's just strapped across their shoulder. So,
yes,
because I remember the
backup
ratskin
weapon.
Yeah, it's their backup weapon. But they found this thing and they don't quite understand how it works, but they've modified it up quite enough that they can go, yeah, we just, we ram a little piece of metal into the side of it and then just hit and hope, really. That's the only thing. So I guess you could try and... This would be a great modelling opportunity to get some very old school looking weapons. And I think you got it recently, the old weapon frames, like the old metal weapon frames. All those
I got
bits
so
and bobs.
many of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you put that on there, like old school hand flamers, the old school chunky auto pistol, put all these different types of weapons on there. But then you would also have some very, very cool looking bits of tech and equipment. So like a very modernized plasma gun or melter gun or something along those lines where you go, hang on, this doesn't quite sync up with what they're doing and how they're doing it. But my interpretation of how they would work is they almost step into the past to come out of Secundus. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah. So they would you'd almost like they'd need hangers on who don't go too far into the abyss with them, who understand and remember them from who they are. So they vanish off and then they step back into the modern time. It's like stepping back, as I say, stepping into the past once they come out of the abyss, because that's where they would be traveling forward in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the mindset. So you would have a crew of their hangers-on. This gang would definitely need some hangers-on who are all like a normal fighting age and whatsoever. And then the main gang are all aged, all weathered, grey-haired. Imagine an Escher gang like that. All grey-haired, a little bit wrinkly, a little bit flabby, but all hardened. Hard as nails. Real, don't mess with them sort of look to them.
Yeah,
but
that's sick.
Very different modifications on weapons and so forth. And maybe they fight with some more basic weaponry because it's easier to maintain within the realms of the abyss. That's my gang idea. A reverse time traveling gang. They come back into the past to sell their wares, to maintain themselves. I haven't quite worked out what they're fighting for. But maybe they just fight because they live there. That's all.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe it's very much so. What was his name? The old Oh, come on, Dave.
Stately Dave.
Stately Dave, Seta Davos.
That's it. Yes.
Yes, how he keeps popping back in time and basically being like, "Hey, dickheads, stop doing this dumb stuff. Get me to the king. I forget the leader of the Bansar. Get me to Duke Otto." And they're like, "Hold, please." And he fades back into the future. What if they, because of that your idea plays very heavily on my idea of the gravitic warheads causing those temporal anomalies. They know that they're in there, but if they try to step away from the Secundan Exclusion Zone, they phase out of the time they're actually in. So they're using the stuff they're taking from the future or the past or like the now, but to the left, and are attempting to trade for food and supplies and that sort of stuff, so they can find the correct information in those data stacks to tell them how to step back.
Oh, yes.
Within the
That's
phase
what they're
of
fighting
time.
for. Yes, that's what they're fighting for. So they've worked out that they're stuffed, like they're phasing out, and what they need to do is they go down deeper and try and recover information, but they understand that they need to trade for ammunition, for supplies, anything to keep them going. Yes, that would be so cool. That would be so cool. And then so they come up to the surface and they have a team on, not the surface, but outside of where the gravitic energies are pulsating over the top.
They know how far they can get before they start phasing back to their sort of time frame. So they know they can get up to this port city on the Abyss, but they can't go to this one.
Yeah.
They know they start feeling real unwell if they get too far here, but if they go to this marketplace, they're cool.
Yeah.
So,
So there's almost like a limited time frame on this gang as well, in the sense that, nobody else is joining them. Maybe they do have acolytes who want to join them, who say, "We're going to help you get out. You've done so much for our community in terms of bringing us resources to keep us going, that we're going to we send recruits to you in an attempt to get you out."
Oh, dude, they send groups of I'm guessing these dudes are Vansar. They send these groups of Vansar or Escher or whatever down into the Underhells, because they say, "This is the map you need to follow. You need to get to here. When you get to here, you'll phase into our time frame." And then so they can join them. But they're saying, send 12, send 15, send 20, because they know only 5 of you are going to survive.
Yeah, right.
So,
the expedition needs to be huge, because we can't fix the pathway here because we're phased completely out of that area.
Oh, that's sick.
Yes. It's a cool campaign idea.
Anyway.
That's
a very cool campaign idea.
What would your gang idea be for Secundus?
All right, so it's a group of combat engineers. I would do the remnants of an Astra Militarum or PDF unit, and they would be very mismatched. They would be a mixture of gang armor and the sort of Astra Militarum helmets, and you would have the different generations of gear, the different iterations of gear. Nothing would really match beyond maybe they have blue cloth tied around them somewhere, or around an arm, around a helmet. They would have blue paint on their armour maybe, to sort of signify unity via colour. And their mission would be to travel between those settlements that are within the exclusion zone as almost sort of a purgation squad, where they're going through. They offer their services of, hey, are there any tunnels near here that the Malstrains have been coming from? Are there any sort of points of infestation, that sort of thing? And they would go through and they would cull, and they would receive their payment in ammunition and food, and maybe the odd Juve that wants to join up with them, wants to sort of do something to fight back at the Malstrains. Yeah. And they would have these different settlements sort of saying, it's been about it's been about 12 months. They should be completing their cycle and coming back to us.
Yeah.
But they would be Genestealer cultists. They would be true Genestealer cultists. They would not be Malstrains.
Oh, man.
They are, in fact, some of those original Genestealer cultists that escaped Secundus.
Oh, my God.
So they're primarily brood brothers. They would have small vehicles and that sort of thing, to hide that second generation, that third generation, those really mutated ones,
Yeah.
And because when they go to the tunnels, that's when they're real, the hybrid brothers and sisters are in their element.
That's when they drop the hatches and just go get them, son.
Yeah, get in there. And that's where they can put savage beast against savage beast. I would do this as probably an Escher gang, or maybe even an Orlok gang that's been Genestealer corrupted, because I would have an aberrant where they would basically be goading him into the tunnels and basically saying, stand back. Big Tiny's at it. And he's smashing Malstrains, and he's just going in that respect. And then they gather up whatever they can supply. They gather what they can eat, because they want to purge away the unclean Malstrains, because they see themselves as the true inheritors of the divine right of Hermiatus, of his vision to bring the Star Children to Necromunda. They see the Malstrains as an aberration against themselves, and their hybrid brothers and sisters, they see them as closer to the perfection that is the Tyrannid race.
This is so freaking sick. I love it. Yeah, but go on.
Because they would have information from the Astra Militarum. They know what the Tyrannids are.
Yeah.
They're not under this false ideal of what it is. They can hear the Malstrain Patriarch calling out the broken call, that twisted, diseased brood mind that he has.
Yeah.
And they know that if they
know what's wrong.
They know it's wrong. They know it's not pure like they are.
Yeah, it's
and they
corrupted.
know that if they can kill this patriarch and get one of their 5th generation pure strain Genestealers to become the new patriarch, they can save Necromunda. They can save Necromunda and bring the Star Children to them. And they because they want the Hive to consume the unclean and leave them to spread throughout the Imperium. And I would love making this, especially because you do because I'm on this huge Genestealer kick since we started this series.
Yeah.
Oh man, I reckon I've read and listened to everything I can Genestealer cult related, and doing like a ridge hauler, and you open up the container on the back of it, and you've got the hybrids, that 2nd and 3rd generation in there.
Yeah.
They've got their rag armour, or they've got their mining gear, and maybe they're I think they're the savage beast that they need in the tunnels, but they need to present the brood, the brood brother view to the rest of them.
Yeah. When they're going settlement to settlement, they're everybody's best friend, and they just want to know. So, where have you heard the worst amount of a kerfuffle? Where have you heard the roaring of the beast? Oh well, tunnel 627 down there. That we know to avoid that for the last 10 months. That has been horrendous, and they're just like, okay, we will take your food. We probably need a few of your Jews to help us here. So we'll take a bit more of a.
Do you have any strong lads or lasses that can help us?
Yeah.
We've got armour, we've got guns, we can help you.
Yeah.
We just need a few extra bodies to make sure we get this done properly. You have these real gung-ho fellas, trying to impress the girls. It's like, I'll go with you. I'll go fight the Malstrains with you. Good soldier, here, have this flak vest, have this helmet, jump on board, and the pure strain they have with them.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, they'll have like a Magos type who is some charismatic, brood brother type, or maybe even a fourth generation, where they've actually developed the powers.
Yeah.
And, it's sort of like their battle psyker type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But they'll take in those fresh recruits and they'll get the old bing bong boomed.
Yep.
Or they'll just be convinced. They'll just be convinced they'll see the Genestealer and go, well, you've boggled my mind. I'm in.
You
but
give
I
me
think
the
it'd be
transfixing glare. Yeah.
yeah, and it'd be a great way to do like the Brood Brothers kill team, but do them more human. But then those assault aspects do them totally non-human. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking as many gribbly bits as you can.
Yeah, you like as tyrannid as you can make them. Do you know?
Yeah.
I could almost see them like leaving an aberrant or something like that down there, and just saying, we can't transport you anymore. Like
Yep.
yeah, and the pure strain would just pass on a message and just be, go kill, go destroy.
Go.
Do not let yourself
kill
be
it.
taken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kill until you cannot fight anymore. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the thing. Maybe when they get too many of these hybrids, they take them to a tunnel and basically say, what you're about to do, you do for the Star Children.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we honor you, we respect you, we love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go and kill for the true gods.
Yeah, yeah.
And these hybrids rush the tunnels and they're just chewing through these brood scum and
Yeah.
these mouse strains until they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And, that's when the rest of this gang open up fire, heavy stubbers and lass weapons and auto guns, and that's when they're doing their thing. But it's like they've knocked down the door and we're gonna kill it, whatever's left.
Do you know what I can see this gang doing as well? Is over time they would try to take over one of the settlements that they're helping.
Very much so.
They feed people back into it. They'd be like, Kathy here, who fought with us in the last season, she's been such a great help, but she's going to stay here because we need her expertise and knowledge to help us recruit more fighters. And then she's a Gen 1, so she starts breeding with somebody else, and then they notice, there's a little bit more Genestealer taste. But Kathy's not the first person they've returned back to this settlement. She's like the 4th, 5th, 10th, 15th, whatever you want to call it. And so they begin to build up their own little brood network within there. You know what I mean? And now it becomes their safe point, their anchor point from where they can start to build. So they take over this. Oh, that's so sad for the people who have survived the Malstrain and then have to be up against this.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I love that idea because they've got that city and they've managed to save a caravan that's being attacked by these mouse strains. It's, where are you heading? That settlement's done for. I don't know why the hell you're going there.
Yeah.
Well, what do we do? Well, we've got Malstrain's End up the road there. That's we've got a fortress back there. It's full of people like yourself that just don't want to give any more room to these Xenos monstrosities. Why don't you go there? How about we escort you back there?
Yeah.
We're heading back that way anyway. We'll take you there. You can refuel, you can rest, you can heal up, and then you can head out tomorrow if you need to. Come on, they might not get everyone, but the ones they get, they go back there, and without them realizing, you're in now. You've been big bang boomed, and you are a new part of this cult.
Yeah. This is cool.
Yeah.
I love that. It is a Genestealer cult on the planet going, you are wrong. You are corrupting the purity of the Star Children. So you must be eradicated. And there may be billions of you, but everyone we take prevents you from affecting the brood. Yeah, that's sick. That's an awesome gang idea. I love that. I really, really love that one. I'm really happy you didn't tell me anything about that sooner. That's mate. That's almost like construct sort of stuff.
That would also make a really good kill team.
It would make a brilliant kill team. Wow. I'm blown away by that one. I really, really do like it. There's so much depth and character you can pull out of how they operate and why they operate. Brilliant. Wow, I'm G'd up. I'm absolutely G'd up to get into the actual episode on the cult of the second son now.
Yeah, well, both of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I guess this was going to be a short episode.
Yeah. Real short one.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
We'll try.
Yeah.
We've got our targets. We'll get them there eventually.
So, those of you who still haven't sent us Genestealer cult themed lore, remember, I think it was the 3rd of October, we're doing, it'll be the release of our next listener lore episode.
Yep.
So we will be getting the best couple that between the two of us, we think, and one of you, is going to win a copy of Hive Secundus that Nathan said he was buying me for my birthday. So if I can't get it... Oh, what?
No. You don't get it now. Yeah.
No, obviously I don't get it because you're giving it to one of our listeners.
Absolutely.
So that's fine. Because of your bullying, I'm now bullying you into playing Kill Team, and you're helping me build a Kill Team / Necromunda / I don't know, like 40k board. So sucks to be you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh God, building a gaming table. How horrible.
No. So yeah, if you remember, write down your lore, send it through to us, underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com. From the day this episode comes out, you should have another
about 2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
2, 3 weeks, yeah, about that time.
Yeah. So send that to us and go in the running to win that. Closing thoughts, I guess?
Oh, look, I think it's been a great thing to do. Finally, a Hive Life episode on Secundus. It does feel like it's obviously going to be Genestealer centric, but I think we got a lot out of it. We kind of know, we kind of like certified everything that we already knew about the place, and I think it set us up for a very good third episode to get into. And yourself, any closing thoughts on that one?
I am really looking forward to talking about some of the absolute ridiculousness that the Book of Desolation has introduced to Necromunda next game. Not next game, next episode.
Yeah, next episode, yeah.
Oh, man. From the Dramatis Personae and characters for the Malstrains and the Abyssal Ferrymen and just some of the absolute insanity you can do with the Genestealer cults and Malstrains and some of the stuff you should be allowed to do. So...
there's even the spire suits and so forth, but that's potentially for a
that's
bit
a
further
different
down.
episode. We will not be talking about spirers.
We will.
Number of people hating on the Jakara. Each of you is my nemesis. The Jakara is, in my opinion, is the best of the sort of light spirers. I'm sick of this Yeld-centric mindset. Jakara or bust.
Yep, that's... I think that's going to be your next tattoo, isn't it? Yeah.
Jakara or bust. Oh, Jesus.
Then there's also Hermiphage as well.
Hermiatus?
Mate.
Yeah, there's a few weird doctors we're going to be talking about next episode.
Yeah, no, I'm really G'd up for it. So, look, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We enjoyed talking about it. Actually,
I enjoyed it. I always enjoy it.
It's been a long time coming. The Secundus episode. I think we talked about it even in Hive Life, the first one, where we were like, I really want to do Secundus. So
we keep talking about Secundus, but I actually have a really upbeat quote to end the episode with. And this one comes from the Hive Secundus book. The day of our success is at hand. Once these interlopers have been eliminated, the Patriarch shall bless us with great power. Forward, my brethren. And that is Crag, seventh brood of the blessed progenitor, cult of the second son. And that was our latest episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. I am Spamiel, and on behalf of the Lorekeeper team, thank you for listening. Please follow us on our social media pages available in the show notes, and don't forget to follow and review us on your preferred podcast platform. As always, if you have questions, complaints, corrections, or if the voice of the Patriarch is in your mind and will not leave and begs you to join him, join us now. Please reach out to us at underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com. Thanks.